My supposedly commitment-phobic best friend set me up with a great catch. We rushed into marriage and started a family right away. 2 years later, when our child was weaned, he dropped divorce papers on me. Being unemployed cost me custody and saddled me with crushing marital debt. Already suffering from postpartum depression, I ultimately chose suicide under unbearable pressure. As my spirit lingered near them after death, I heard my best friend whisper sweetly to my ex-husband, "With Chen Huixing's child, your mother won't oppose our marriage anymore since I can't conceive." When I opened my eyes again, I'd returned to the moment my best friend was introducing me to a potential boyfriend. Smiling, I declined their impulsive marriage proposal. Marriage isn't child's play. We should take time to properly evaluate this. 1. Upstairs. I watched coldly as the guy who'd promised to set me up this morning was getting cozy with my best friend in a secluded corner downstairs. I grabbed my phone, called for backup, and headed down. When reinforcements arrived, we bagged them both and gave them a proper beating. No hard feelings, just working through some post-reincarnation rage. Makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Thank God these two picked such a remote corner, not a single security camera in sight. After venting enough anger, I waved for the others to pull back first, pretending to run over from a distance. I shouted at the others, "Who the hell are you? Beating people up like this, I'll call the cops." I waited until the others had vanished from sight before acting like I'd just noticed the two figures on the ground. Yuan, Zhang Lei, what are you two doing here? 2. Helping the bruised pair to their feet, I fought back a smirk while maintaining a concerned tone. What were you two doing out here so late? Why were those guys beating you up? Their eyes darted nervously at the remark, stammering incoherently. I dropped the subject and feigned righteous indignation. Those bastards went too far beating you two like this. Let's call the cops on them. Don't call the police, Zhang Lei interjected hastily, shooting Yuan a furtive glance. Shall we? Our injuries aren't serious. Let's not involve the police. Mercy prevails where mercy is due. Seeing this, Yuan quickly played along. Ha, I sneered inwardly. Of course these two wouldn't dare mention calling the police in front of me. One interrogation from the cops and their scheme would unravel. Putting on an act, I made a few token protests before giving in and escorting them to the hospital. After the examination, Zhang Lei held my hand and said, "Shall we? You're such a wonderful girl. I'm so lucky to have you." I glanced down at Yuan and sure enough, she was glaring at us with a twisted expression. I subtly pulled my hand away and replied gently with a smile, "You're both very important to me. Of course I want to treat you well. No rush. This is just the beginning. These two lovebirds have their best days ahead." 3. Maybe because the bruises on his face hadn't faded yet, Zhang Lei kept his distance from me. Yuan lives with me and never misses a chance to hype up Zhang Lei. I'm really curious, how long have these two been dating? We lived together and I completely missed it. So I probed cautiously, Yuan, how long have you known Zhang Lei? You've been singing his praises like he's heaven sent. At this, Yuan's expression turned awkward. She forced a laugh and replied, "I'm only doing this for your sake. When there's a good catch, of course I'd share it with you. If I weren't a marriage-free advocate, I'd go for him myself." Relax, as your bestie, I'd never screw you over. Ha, I sneered inwardly. How dare she say that with a straight face? Didn't she ruin my life enough in our past dealings? Seeing me unmoved, she pressed on, "Shall we? You're already 30, with your family breathing down your neck. Why hesitate when you've found such a perfect match? Zhang Lei's 35 already, hardly prime marriage material. We should take our time getting to know each other properly before rushing into anything," I replied measuredly. To my surprise, Yuan immediately fired back heatedly. Men at 35 are in their prime both age-wise and career-wise, while women over 30 get labeled as hags. How is that fair? Me. 4. A few days later, when Yuan returned from sick leave, Zhang Lei also showed up punctually at our company for reporting, breakfast and lunch deliveries in the morning, afternoon bubble tea runs, and evening pickups after work. But since Yuan and I worked at the same company, she naturally got to enjoy these perks too. I must have been out of my damn mind not to notice anything wrong all this time. Though I seriously doubt their relationship is as solid as they claim, on our way back to the office after lunch with Yuan, I deliberately gushed to her with fake sweetness. "You wouldn't believe how ridiculous Zhang Lei is being. He insists on taking me to his hometown, saying only after visiting their ancestral hall and paying respects to his ancestors would I be considered his family's approved bride." My sickly sweet tone made me want to gag myself. Then I carefully studied Yuan's expression. Her face darkened momentarily before she smiled at me again, that smug, mocking smile. Probably still smarting from our lunchtime clash, Yuan jumped into the passenger seat when Zhang came to pick me up after work. Seeing me frozen outside, she hit me with that fake sweet talk again. Shall we? I'm feeling carsick today. You don't mind if I sit in front, do you? I glanced at Zhang in the driver's seat and smirked when he pretended not to hear. Yuan, this isn't about whether I mind or not. Get down now, you're making yourself look like the other woman. I deliberately raised my voice for that last remark. Zhang had parked right outside our office building, where colleagues were constantly coming and going. Seeing my reaction, Yuan stormed out of the car and slammed the door shut with a loud bang. Fine, if you don't want me here, I'll take the subway today. She stomped off angrily, but deliberately slowed her pace, clearly waiting for someone to coax her back. Not indulging her tantrum, I yanked open the passenger door and got in. Noticing Zhang had already unbuckled his seatbelt, I shot him a feigned look of surprise. Hey, what are you doing? Getting off? Zhang paused momentarily before forcing a gentle tone. Xiaohui, don't be so selfish. Your best friend's upset. Let's go cheer her up. 5. Upset. Didn't she say she'd take the subway today because of car sickness? Who knows her better, you or me? My face darkened instantly as I confronted him. Seeing me like this, he had no choice but to sit back down and try to explain. I'm just concerned about your friendship with her. I'm thinking of you, so I'm supposed to thank him for that. Whatever I was feeling inside, my expression softened as I teased. Smart move, let's go. Zhang looked at me with an exasperated yet doting expression. You're such a princess. What do you want for dinner? My treat. Unbelievable. If I didn't know his true colors, I'd actually think he likes me. Even Oscar winners would give him props for this act. But then I reconsidered and named that fancy restaurant I'd been craving but could never justify splurging on. After all, I got married too quickly in my past life to enjoy this kind of pampering, since he's got ulterior motives anyway. Might as well have him lick my boots properly. Clearly Zhang wasn't enjoying this meal. Dropping 3K on dinner is pretty steep for folks at our pay grade. Not that I cared. I was having a grand old time. After finishing, I dabbed my lips and gave him this fake concerned spiel. This must have cost you a fortune. Don't worry, I'll get the next one, shall we? You're even more virtuous than I imagined, the way you, mid-sentence. He noticed my amused smirk and quickly changed tack. I'm still courting you. No way I'm letting a lady pay. This one's on me. The money clearly meant a lot to him. His face fell when paying. I had to pinch my thigh hard to keep from laughing. 6. He remained unusually quiet the whole way back, not wanting to force conversation. I simply bid him goodbye at the lobby before heading upstairs. Yuan gave me a cold snort when she saw me return with a sour face. In the past, I might have rushed to appease her, but this time I wasn't having any of it. I confronted her directly. What's with the attitude? You're the one who introduced Zhang to me. If you've got a problem with us being together, I'll call it off right now. I shot back louder, my expression even darker than hers, guilt written all over her face. She forced an awkward smile after a long pause and pleaded, just kidding, shall we? Don't be mad at me, pretty please. She trailed off with a coquettish lilt in her voice, draping herself over me like clingy syrup. Wherever she'd touched me prickled like ants were crawling under my skin. I shook her off subtly, knowing when to quit well ahead. Alright, we're besties after all, of course I forgive you. Listen, I gleefully recounted how extravagantly Zhang had treated me to dinner and doted on me, watching her face turn puce with rage before happily wrapping up the conversation to wash up. Yuan must have been fuming because of me. I peeked through the bathroom door crack to see her stomping angrily in the living room, but when I finished tidying up, I ran into her just as she hung up the phone in high spirits. Noticing my gaze, she flashed me a smug grin and said, shall we? Someone's delivering something for me. I'm heading down to get it. Without waiting for my reply, she cheerfully dashed out the door. No need to guess. It had to be Zhang coming to sweet-talk her again. Those shameless bastards, carrying on their affair right under my nose. How dare they? Like hell I'd tolerate this. I glanced at the trash bin, grabbed the garbage, and stormed downstairs. These two sure know how to hide, not in the corner where they got caught last time, but right next to the trash bins. 7. I crouched there forever, getting bitten by mosquitoes, until they finally separated. Seizing the moment, I rushed over. If they hugged again, what then? I wasn't ready to expose them just yet. Yuan, Zhang, what are you two doing by the dumpster this late? And why the cake and flowers? What's going on here? I tossed the trash while eyeing these two with suspicion. These two really went all out. I spotted an upscale-looking cake, exquisitely wrapped red roses, plus a Cartier gift bag whose contents remained a mystery. Yuan caught on immediately and said, "It's Zhang. He wants to confess his feelings but's afraid you'll reject him, so he came to me for advice." When I stayed silent, Yuan added reluctantly, "Look, all this is from Zhang. You're so lucky, shall we? I'm genuinely jealous." I couldn't help but burst out laughing. "Can't blame me for this, those two just looked ridiculously funny. What a lucky break." Zhang misinterpreted my reaction as happiness over Yuan's comment and immediately stepped forward. "Shall we? I fell for you the moment we met. Will you accept my confession?" After some thought, I accepted the bouquet, cake, and gifts. Saying yes to his proposal, Yuan forced a smile beside us. "Wow, Xiaohui, you're so lucky, such a romantic confession. I'm actually jealous," judging by her expression. That last remark probably came straight from the heart. After Zhang and I got together, we started flaunting our relationship everywhere. Soon the whole office knew we were dating. 8. Yuan gave me a sour look and said, "Xiaohui, you're being way too flashy, like someone who hasn't dated in centuries. People are laughing at you, ha." In my past life, I listened to her and kept quiet after my whirlwind marriage. Meanwhile, she got promoted here, married Zhang, and flaunted it daily at the office, laughing at me. Why, playing dumb. I called over our office's biggest romance enthusiast, Xiaojing. "Tell me, does showing off my relationship make me a joke?" Xiaojing's eyes instantly sparkled as she gushed, "I ship you two so hard. Your love story's like candy. I'd give anything to have that someday." Ugh, love obsession is terrifying. No wonder she got scammed out of everything by a romance scammer in her past life, then still went asking why he ghosted her after all she sacrificed. But she's in luck. I'm planning to intercept that handsome, wealthy online boyfriend from her previous life, while they were called away by the boss. I used the password I'd secretly memorized to unlock Xiaojing's phone, logged into her Weibo, and preemptively blocked that show-off account. Then I grabbed Yuan's phone to follow that account instead. This is just one of the plans. If it doesn't work out, I've always got plan B. When I get revenge, I never come back empty-handed. I thought someone as vicious as Yuan, who could scheme against her own best friend, would be more cautious, yet soon enough, there she was grinning like a fool at her phone all day. 9. That was quick. Guess the saying's true, you haven't been scammed only because you haven't met the right scam for you. During my date with Zhang, I casually remarked, "I think Yuan might have someone special too. Lately, she's always glued to her phone with this dreamy smile. Wonder if she'll still call herself a marriage-free advocate when she meets the one." To my surprise, Zhang's usual pretentious act instantly crumbled. His face darkened, and he couldn't even bother keeping up appearances, just muttered some excuses before storming off. Standing there dumbfounded, it suddenly hit me. Damn, these two actually have real feelings for each other. I thought their little conflict would buy me some peace. But nope, just days later when I returned to our shared apartment after work, there stood the last person I expected in our living room. "Chen Hui, you ungrateful child, you've been dating someone for so long and actually kept it from your own family. Our parents' generation seems to have marriage carved into their bones. Even when their own marriages are unhappy, they'll emotionally blackmail their children into getting married." 10. Take my mother for example, a single parent herself. She spent 30 minutes berating me for not telling her about my relationship, then immediately switched to pressuring me about marriage. Watching Yuan enjoying the drama from the sidelines, I couldn't bring myself to tell Mom the truth, not that I planned to anyway. All I could do was helplessly explain that we'd just met and wanted to get to know each other better. Yuan chimed in, "Auntie's right, Xiaohui, you're not getting any younger. If you don't snag a catch like Zhang soon, you'll be left on the shelf." Emboldened by the backup, Mom doubled down with relentless enthusiasm. Finally, with no other choice, I reluctantly gave in. "Let me discuss this with Zhang first. We'll get engaged for now and figure out the rest later." Seeing she'd gotten her way, my mother left cheerfully. Yuan looked at me with smug satisfaction, saying, "Shall we? Your mother means well. You're already 30. If you don't have kids soon, you'll miss the optimal childbearing age." Damn it, she's still obsessing over my womb. Looks like they're speeding things up. This woman's quite greedy, keeping one guy online while dating another in real life. I watched her coldly without saying a word. In the days that followed, I juggled preparing engagement arrangements with Zhang, putting on affectionate displays with Yuan, and trading stocks funds using memories from my past life. Yuan no longer gritted her teeth during our public displays of affection. Instead, she watched me with secret smugness and schadenfreude. 11. Seeing this, I pulled out my recent stock and fund investment gains to show off. Shall we? Since when did you learn this? Yuan asked, eyeing my returns with surprise and envy. Ha, I smirked mysteriously. After all these years together, you still don't know me. I'd never figure this out myself. It's all thanks to this investing guru I recently met. Yuan turned to me indignantly. Are we even best friends anymore? You'd keep this golden opportunity to yourself and get rich quietly, I coaxed her. Come on, Yuan, don't be mad. Investments have their ups and downs. I just didn't want you to lose out. Tell you what, let me treat you to dinner to make it up to you. Her expression softened slightly. Smart move. I'm going to eat you out of house and home today. True to her word, she actually tried dragging me to that overpriced restaurant where I'd gone with Zhonglei last time. Do I really look like someone's cash cow? But I put on an apologetic face and said, sorry. Yuan, all my cash is tied up right now. Barely have 2 pennies to rub together. Maybe you could spot me this time. She obviously didn't want to lend me money, so she ended up tagging along to Hadaleo with a sour face. During dinner though, she kept eagerly asking me about stocks and funds, and I played along with her questions. She didn't seem completely clueless. Probably her online crush had already baited the hook. Naturally, I had to play my part. When I'm with Yuan, I brag about how great Zhonglei treats me, and when I'm with Zhonglei, I casually mention which guys at work have a thing for Yuan and who'd make a good match for her. Those two would always rush off to meet each other the moment Zhonglei and I finished our dates. 12. Their love is stronger than gold. Truly touching. On our engagement day, I went all out and invited loads of colleagues, plus relatives from both Zhonglei's family and mine. Even my mom hesitated before asking. Don't you think this is a bit much? It's practically wedding-level extravagance. I waved her off casually. Nonsense. My wedding is the biggest event of my life. The grander, the better. Don't tell me you don't want to see me get married. That effectively shut my mother up. But then I immediately found a waiter, slipped him some cash, and asked him to keep tabs on Yuan and Zhonglei, to alert me the moment anything suspicious happened. Sure enough, halfway through the banquet, the waiter informed me that the pair had disappeared into a hotel storage room and hadn't come out. I made up an excuse and frantically asked my mom, Zhonglei's parents, and a few co-workers to help search for him. Midway, I pretended not to know him and asked the bribed waiter, excuse me, have you seen my fiancé? This is him. I showed him Zhonglei's photo on my phone, and he obligingly pointed in Zhonglei's direction. That's when I suddenly noticed something off about Zhonglei's parents' expressions. Zhonglei's mother tugged at my sleeve, saying, Xiaohui, why don't you take everyone back first? We old folks can handle the search ourselves. What's this about? I narrowed my eyes. Could these 2 old coots actually know something? No wonder they made my life hell after I married into their family in my past life. If that's the case, there isn't a single decent person in this whole damn household. But I've already set the stage. How could I let them walk off so easily? Oh no, Auntie, we'll soon be family. And families should stick together through thick and thin. While babbling nonsense, I shot the waiter a conspiratorial glance. Before Mrs. Zhang could interject, I dragged her toward the storage room. As I pushed open the storage room door, a piercing shriek rang out. The sight of Zhonglei and Yuan locked in passionate embrace like starved tigers froze everyone in stunned silence. Yuan, facing the doorway, was first to notice the crowd. Her scream finally shattered the suffocating tension. 13. Zhonglei's mother charged in first, grabbing Yuan by the hair and delivering 2 loud slaps across her face while screaming, You shameless homewrecker, how dare you seduce my son and ruin his future? Wiping his face, Zhonglei's father turned to my mother with remorse, saying, Dear in-laws, it's our fault for failing to raise our son properly. We've wronged Xiaohui terribly. In-laws, don't you dare call us that. Our Xiaohui isn't worthy of marrying into your disgraceful family. My mom completely lost it. While she might have advised me to tolerate other mistakes, infidelity was absolutely unforgivable. She divorced my father for that very reason. Zhonglei's mom struck viciously, leaving Yuan screaming in pain. When Zhonglei tried to intervene, my mother let out a feral cry and lunged at him, kicking, punching, clawing. It was impossible to believe she wasn't using Zhonglei as a punching bag for pent-up rage. Seeing Zhonglei's father about to jump in, I feared the old bastard might sucker punch my mom, so I quickly grabbed co-workers to block him. Only after my colleagues had secretly filmed the chaos did I adjust my expression and wail my way into the fray. Stop fighting, please, I'm begging you to stop. I stood between Yuan and Zhonglei, both battered and bruised, blocking their parents from each other. They're both people I've loved, even though they wronged me. they've suffered enough punishment, just let them be. 14. Then I turned back to face them both. I won't forgive you, but I can't bring myself to hate you either. From now on, let's pretend we're strangers. With that, I dashed out of the storage room whimpering and rushed to the restroom to wash my hands. I was afraid lingering too long would let people smell the mustard on my hands. When I returned to the banquet hall with telltale signs of freshly washed face, everyone looked at me with pitying expressions. Even Zhang Lei gave me a complicated look and said, "You're a good woman, I'm the one who doesn't deserve you." I rolled my eyes internally, as if I'd ever settle for trash like him, in his dreams. But outwardly, I put on a heartbroken act and dragged my mom away in tears. Had to bolt. Who knows if Zhang Lei's family would have made us foot the banquet bill. Mom insisted on staying at my tiny rental, worried I might do something drastic. We ended up ranting about my cheating father all afternoon. She was still cursing when Yuan came back that evening. Seeing Yuan walk in, she snorted. I tugged at her sleeve and pretended to be the bigger person. Yuan, we're friends. I don't want to blame you, but I can't forgive you either. You should move out. I'll refund your remaining rent. My mother shot me a look of exasperated disappointment. Yuan stood there visibly guilt-ridden, her lips parting hesitantly as if struggling to find her voice. Shall we? I know Lei and I wronged you in this matter, but his family's struggling too. You brought all those people today. Lei covered the expenses. Could you maybe return some of the money? Before I could respond, Mom marched into the kitchen and emerged with a knife, leaving me utterly bewildered. I lunged to stop her. Mom, what are you doing? Don't be rash. 15. My mother brandished a knife, struggling fiercely. You worthless piece of trash, let me go. I'll butcher that shameless little bitch today. She's my flesh and blood. You rotten scum. How dare you bully her like this? Who the hell do you think you are? I've had enough of this damn life anyway. Killing you wouldn't be a loss. You spineless coward, move. My mom's freakishly strong. I was terrified she'd actually lash out with that knife. Panicking, I yelled at Yuan who was just standing there dumbstruck. What the hell are you waiting for? I can barely hold her back. You wanna get stabbed? Run. God. I was so scared Mom would do something reckless. Someone like Yuan isn't worth ruining your life over. Yuan hesitated for a few seconds before bolting out, slamming the door hard enough to shake the walls. The moment Yuan left, Mom instantly cooled down. She tossed the knife onto the dining table and gave me that "I expected better from you" look. I've fought my whole damn life. How did I end up with such a fool, getting bullied and still defending them? If I wasn't here today, were you really going to pay that bitch? My mom's outburst stunned me. As she yelled, I suddenly remembered my past life when I'd impulsively killed myself. I never considered how she'd survive without me. How selfish I'd been. I barely scolded you and you're crying now. Couldn't shed tears earlier when it mattered. What a pathetic display. Only when Mom spoke did I realize I was crying. Wiping my tears, I whimpered, "Mom, I'll never get married. I'll stay with you forever." My mom panicked. You've ruined the first half of my life, and now you want to wreck the rest of it too. Terrified by my mom's fierce reaction and her refusal to leave my place, Yuan packed up and moved out the next day. When I transferred her share of the rent, I could tell she wanted to demand reimbursement for the wedding banquet, but under my mom's menacing glare, she didn't dare bring it up. Me, 16, on my third day back at work after vacation, colleagues kept giving me pitying looks. Since Yuan worked in the same department, you can imagine the awkward situation she faced. People wouldn't say it to her face, but they'd gossip behind her back. She couldn't take it anymore and handed in her resignation within 3 days. Before leaving, she called me to the office break room. I thought she was going to ask me for money again, but she brought up something else entirely. Chen Hui, I owe you this one, but what does any of this have to do with those people at the company? Once I've got money, they'll be crawling back to me. Seriously, is she out of her mind? She feels guilty now. But what about when she literally got me killed in our past life? But as her ever so saintly friend, I obviously had to play along. Yuan, let bygones be bygones. While we can't turn back time, I still wish you smooth sailing ahead. Just remember, money should be earned through honest work. Then she rolled her eyes at me. Look who's talking. You're making bank from stocks and funds, yet you lecture me. How selfish. I bit my tongue but still played the saint, saying, that money's dirty. I was just dabbling in it. Yuan, you'd better steer clear. Humph. Knew you weren't as noble as you pretend. Pretty words, but you're just scared I'll strike it rich. With that, she shoved past me and stormed out. After she left, I stood there with my head bowed until love-struck Xiaoxing came in calling, Sister Hui, don't be upset. I looked up and gave her a smile. 17, sad, my ass, seeing her like this. She's probably dumped a fortune into that pig butchering scam. With this whole drama today, knowing her, she'll just impulsively throw in even more money. Her misfortune, I couldn't be happier. When Yuan quit, I was probably the happiest person in the entire company. It's not just about revenge. Another reason is that we're in the same department, and our manager is about to resign. In my past life during this period, I was already pregnant. My health wasn't great then. And under pressure from Yuan and Zhang Lei, I ended up quitting. That managerial position eventually went to Yuan, but this time it rightfully belongs to me. I'm clearly the more competent one, yet barely a week later, Yuan suddenly approached me. Seeing her frantic and haggard face after work gave me quite a shock. Shall we come here for a sec? There's something I need to ask you. 18, ignoring the curious glances from our coworkers. She immediately pulled me toward a quiet corner. Shall we? She blurted out anxiously. Have you ever had trouble withdrawing money from your account? Huh. I struggled to keep a straight face. That's impossible. Yuan, are you being scammed? No, impossible. How could I possibly be scammed? He's helped me make so much money. Yuan screamed at me hysterically. Whether she genuinely trusted her online romance or simply couldn't face being deceived remained unclear. Playing the role of a concerned friend, I said, Yuan, maybe I should go with you to the police station to ask about. Enough, stop talking. Yuan cut me off. You're just jealous I'm making big money. That's why you're saying this. Still hung up on me stealing your boyfriend. Huh, I knew no one could actually be that forgiving. Classic case of projection. Couldn't be bothered to engage further. I turned to leave, only to pause after a few steps. As your former friend, here's my final advice. Whether you're being scammed or not, hurry up and get that marriage certificate with Zhang Lei. Otherwise, the Zhang family might not even let you through their door. With that, I walked away without another word. I never doubted Yuan's efficiency. Just a few nights later, as I was getting ready for bed, Zhang Lei texted me to come downstairs. Knowing I needed to keep tabs on these two, I went down. 19. Zhang Lei's first words were, "Didn't expect you to actually show up instead of blocking me." When I just stared silently, he launched into another monologue. "Tomorrow I'm getting married to Yuan. Guess we weren't meant to be in this lifetime. You're a good woman. I hope you find someone worthy too. Sorry, but there's someone younger who needs my protection more. Don't cry alone after I'm gone." After racking my brains, I still can't figure out what sins I committed in 2 lifetimes to deserve his audacious condescension. Don't cry alone. Right now I'd rather punch him until he's bawling for his parents. Me. The next day, I came across Yuan and Zhang Lei's marriage certificate photos flooding my WeChat moments. Colleagues who hadn't deleted Yuan caught wind of this and spread the news like wildfire. Xiaojun quietly informed me they'd nicknamed me Saint Sis behind my back. 20. Speechlessness is my native tongue right now, but all my focus was on speculating about that couple's current situation. Their marriage is built entirely on schemes, all sweetness now. But who knows how long this facade will last. The wait wasn't long. Just 3 months later, Yuan came running back to me. "Shall we? Could you lend me some money to tide me over? My credit card payment is almost overdue. And I've got some online loans too. I don't want Zhang Lei to find out about my debts." I knew my current predicament was partly due to my own indulgence. I only wanted them to see me as their guardian angel, but they straight up treated me like a fool. 21. I shut her down immediately. Yuan, have you forgotten? We're not friends anymore. You've got a husband now. His earnings are your marital assets. Go ask him. She glared at me bitterly. You've made so much from investments. What's the big deal lending me some? Seeing me beg, does that make you feel superior? God damn it. I'll never understand why I was stupid enough to stay friends with someone like her for so many years. Watching her self-righteous attitude, I sighed. You know damn well how risky that is. If you just check the recent market trends, you'd realize I'm already trapped in this mess. Besides, your husband's the design director at XX company. Just have him whip up a few designs to sell to their competitor YY company. You'd make way more than the pitiful amount you're borrowing from me. Yuan, I genuinely don't get you. After what you did to me, yet I'm still your first call when trouble hits. Have you no shame? I've been wanting to ask her this forever. Does she really have no dignity left? Yuan flew into a rage upon hearing this and snapped at me. Chen Hui, I completely misjudged you. She stormed off in fury. I stretched lazily. The bait was set. Now to see if the fish would bite. A month passed without any word from Yuan or Zhang Lei. Had the fish not taken the bait, that didn't seem right. That's the downside of making things official. Communication slows down. 22. Just as I was wondering, Zhang Lei suddenly called me one evening inviting me for drinks. Sensing I might finally get the answers I wanted, I eagerly rushed to the bar he'd texted me about. The bar Zhonglei picked was actually quite nice, cozy and quiet, with a singer performing soulful tunes on stage. I sat beside Zhonglei watching him down drink after drink in silence, until he couldn't take it anymore and pretended to just notice me. "You're here," he said, smoothing my messy hair with greasy vocal fry dripping from his words. "Why the hurry? Worried about me? Seriously folks, why are these guys so full of themselves? I'm literally about to puke." When I stayed silent, he took another swig and struck a brooding pose. "You know," he said, "I've been with this company since graduation. Worked my way up to design director, only to get axed just like that." Suppressing my surging emotions, I asked him, "Why, even if you're firing me, there's got to be a reason." Zhonglei slammed his glass onto the bar counter angrily and said, "They accused me of leaking company secrets, but that was my own design. Why would I sell it to competitors? If this design succeeded, with my seniority I'd definitely get promoted. Why would I sabotage my own career? Someone's definitely out to get me. You're too junior to understand. This is just how dirty office politics can be. I can't believe what I ever saw in this guy to rush into marriage, so cringy with that patronizing dad energy vibe, but since it aligns with my plans, I'll throw him a bone. Maybe you accidentally left backups lying around, or could family members have leaked it without realizing?" 23. He froze momentarily before insisting, "Impossible. I always keep it in my notebook. Hardly anyone knows the password." He downed several glasses of liquor in quick succession. I shrugged, let him think whatever he wanted. My job was just to plant the seed. Having heard what I came for, I was about to excuse myself when the guy, clearly wasted, started leaning into me, slurring his words. He mumbled, "Shall we? I'm smashed. Could you help me to the hotel next door? Already booked a room. Here's the keycard. Thanks." What the hell? What's this idiot's problem? What grown adult wouldn't get what this means? Neither of these two treats me like a human being. I waved at the guy who'd been staring at Zhonglei since I walked in. He looked startled but came over anyway. "Sorry to bother you, but my friends had too much to drink. Could you help get him to the hotel next door? I've got something urgent to handle." "Don't worry, I'll make it worth your while." The guy seemed taken aback and immediately waved his hands dismissively. "No problem at all. It's nothing, really, won't take but a minute. Just leave him to me." Without hesitation, I shoved both the person and the room key into that man's hands before cheerfully heading back. Whether Zhonglei got drunk or not was none of my concern. Frankly, at this point, I couldn't care less about what happened to those two. One's drowning in massive debt, the other's a middle-aged unemployed loser. Though they both took me for a complete fool, at least neither suspected my hand in their downfall. 24. I've happily been promoted to department head with double the salary, and thanks to my past life memories, my investment returns are looking pretty decent too. At this rate, I'll probably achieve financial independence by the time I'm 35. Life's pretty comfortable overall, except for my mom still nagging me about marriage. When Zhonglei called again, it took me a moment to even remember who he was. I could hear him frantically saying on the other end, "Shall we? Could you do me a huge favor? Yuan pushed my mom down the stairs and she's paralyzed now. She's in the hospital while Yuan ran off. Dad and I are going after her. Could you watch over my mom at the hospital for a couple days?" "Sure thing," I agreed instantly, not out of sympathy, but purely to see that old hag's miserable state. When I told my mom about it at home, she insisted on coming with me no matter what. She even justified it. "You're so naive. What if you see their suffering and get all soft-hearted again? I need to keep an eye on you. If I catch you catching feelings, I'll knock some sense into you right then and there." That's my mother all right. When Mom and I arrived at the hospital, we realized neither Zhonglei nor his father was there, just a kind elderly neighbor helping out. Zhonglei's mom was worse off than I'd imagined, completely bedridden with facial paralysis, looking like she'd had a stroke. 25. The neighbor was incredibly warm-hearted. Hearing we were Zhonglei's friends coming to help, she immediately welcomed us. My mom quickly hit it off with the neighbor, who then filled her in on what had happened. Turns out Zhonglei soon discovered Yuan had stolen his design drafts and sold them, costing him his job. After that, they'd have screaming matches every other day. Their constant bickering became neighborhood gossip. At least Zhonglei had that going for him. Years climbing the corporate ladder meant decent savings to fall back on. Zhonglei only found out about Yuan's massive secret debt when the collection calls started flooding in. Credit cards, online loans, you name it. Driven to desperation, Zhang's family sued to divide the marital debt and file for divorce, but mysteriously lost the case. Hearing this, I've got to hand it to Yuan. turning premarital debt into joint marital liability. That's some next-level scheming. Call it cosmic payback for my past life. Things didn't end there. After returning, their conflict escalated from arguments to physical fights. But Yuan was no pushover. The brawl spilled from their home to the streets, and she shoved Zhang-Lei's mother down the stairs, leaving her permanently disabled. Realizing the gravity of her actions, she fled the scene. Finally, the elderly woman noticed my mother and I were all ears, wearing expressions that screamed, "More details, please," they whispered to us secretly. We lived nearby, and once overheard the woman saying the man caught some nasty STD and passed it to her. What? I was shocked. Seems like Zhang-Lei's been up to no good behind my back. On our way back, I told my mom, "See why you shouldn't push me to marry. How terrifying. And these two keep preaching about true love every day." My mom looked at me with exasperation. "That's exactly because you youngsters have terrible judgment. From now on, I'm betting all your potential partners." 26. Then she suddenly remembered something and turned to me. "Have you downloaded the National Anti-Fraud Center app yet? If not, do it right now. Don't end up getting scammed like so-and-so." I sighed. Yes, it's done. Stop worrying. I'm craving ribs today. Let's hit the market. Is food all you ever think about? Braised or steamed today? By the way, my mom wants to remind everyone, stay vigilant against scams and don't forget to download the National Anti-Fraud Center app. My name is Yuan. Being beautiful since childhood, I always believed I deserved nothing but the finest things in this world, but during a routine medical checkup, I received a bolt from the blue. I was diagnosed with infertility. How could this be? Side story. 1. I've been outstanding my whole life. Why would something like this happen to me? Watching Chen Hui trying to comfort me only made me more irritable. Someone like her only exists to make me look better. How dare she pity me with those eyes? So when Zhang-Lei found out I couldn't conceive and said his family objected to our marriage, she was the first person I thought of. Hui Chen. I couldn't bring myself to give up on Lei Zhang, so I quit my job, asked Hui Chen to refer me to her company, and moved in with her. Lei and I kept seeing each other on and off for years afterward, but I deliberately hid it all from Hui Chen, telling her I was marriage-free. Finally, when Lei buckled under family pressure and tried to break up with me, I revealed the long-brewing plan I'd been keeping to myself. He agreed. I don't know where things went wrong. I had everything planned out, yet nothing went according to plan. In the end, I married Zhang-Lei, with the condition that I'd raise any child he fathered with other women. Perhaps this arrangement emboldened him. As he began cheating frequently, I turned a blind eye, but I'm at my wit's end now. These debts are driving me insane, too, so when that old hag called me a barren hen again, I snapped and pushed her down the stairs. Seeing her lying motionless on the ground, I panicked. I ran. Zhang-Lei quickly brought me home, and I was relieved to find out old Dang hadn't actually died. Despite being beaten by the father-son duo along the way, they ultimately didn't call the police after my desperate pleas. But life wasn't exactly easy either. With so much debt, both Zhang-Lei and I had our assets frozen and faced high consumption restrictions. His previous termination had tarnished his professional reputation, making it hard for him to land decent jobs. 3. Every time he failed a job interview, he'd come home and take it out on me with punches and kicks. How is this my fault? If he'd given me money back then, I wouldn't have sold his designs. Blame Chen Hui for giving me that terrible advice. After venting his anger, Zhang-Lei got up and ordered me to cook. Exactly. 2 grown men in this house doing nothing, plus an invalid for me to wait on hand and foot. As I was chopping vegetables in the kitchen, a sudden confusion came over me. Though I couldn't bear children before, at least I was glamorous and in perfect health. Where exactly did I go wrong? While serving dishes, Zhang-Lei muttered under his breath, "How much better it would have been if I'd married Chen Hui instead. I can't take it anymore. Why should I be the only one suffering in this godforsaken life?" Watching the father and son collapse drunk after barely touching their food, I raised the cleaver in my hand. My paralyzed mother-in-law whimpered at the sight. I turned to smile at her, pressing a finger to my lips in warning. "Don't worry, old man, you'll get your turn soon." The end. Story 2. When the car accident happened, Jian Yan instinctively protected his white moonlight and pushed me towards death. He said with full confidence, "I know you're a strategist who can be reborn," but he didn't know that was my last chance to complete the strategy mission. 1. When the out-of-control truck rushed towards the sidewalk, I was arguing with Jiang Yan. Today was the 2nd anniversary of our relationship. But he was 2 whole hours late because he went to pick up his white moonlight who had just returned from abroad. "Can you stop being so petty?" Jian Yan stood by the roadside, looking at me with disappointment in his eyes. Yao Yao grew up with me. She has no one to rely on in the country. Is it reasonable for me not to pick her up? I questioned him. So you plan to spend today with the three of us together? Jiang Yan was at a loss for words and didn't say anything. It was Xing Yao Yao behind him. Her eyes moved back and forth between us. When she opened her mouth, she almost burst into tears. Sister Xiaozhu, don't be angry. Ian just thought I was pitiful. So he said he wanted to take me out for a meal. There were tears in her eyes, and she looked like a little white flower swaying in the wind. If you don't welcome me, I'll just leave. After saying that, she turned around and was about to leave. Jiang Yan was quick-eyed and stopped her. He turned back and gave me a glance, his tone warning, Shenju, if you keep acting so unreasonably, we'll break up. I was stunned. In the 2 years of dating Jiang Yan, whenever something didn't go his way, he would threaten to break up with me just like now. At this moment, the system's reminder sounded in my mind, warning, breaking up will be judged as a failed strategy mission, and once the strategy mission fails, not only will I not get the mission reward, but I will also be eliminated. Seeing that I didn't say anything, Jiang Yan smiled contentedly and came over to hold my hand. Okay, Xiaozhu, we won't break up. We'll have a meal and then send her home. Okay. I dug my nails into my palm and forced a smile. Okay. Perhaps thinking that he had me under control. Jiang Yan was in a good mood all the way. He put his arm around my waist, leaned down slightly, and said in a low voice, Xiaozhu, you're so good. Such an intimate gesture made Xing Yao Yao, who was following behind us, turn pale, but I didn't have the heart to pay attention to her, because before trying to win over Jiang Yan, I had observed him for a long time. The former Jiang Yan was mature and steady, not at all like he was now, so childish as to force me to submit by threatening to break up. What on earth? What was wrong? 2. I was lost in thought when suddenly there was a harsh car horn sound in my ear, beep beep beep. I looked in the direction of the sound and saw an out-of-control truck rushing towards the sidewalk, straight at us. The crowd immediately panicked, screams filled the air. Jiang Yan tried to pull me and run at the first moment, but when he turned around and saw Xing Yao Yao standing there motionless, she was crying pitifully, Ian, save me, I don't want to die. Jiang Yan panicked instantly. He instinctively shook off my hand, but he didn't control the strength well. I was wearing high heels. Lost my balance, and was suddenly pushed by him. I fell to the ground and was in so much pain that I couldn't stand up. Jiang Yan, I shouted at his back with all my strength. He paused for a moment but didn't look back. He rushed towards Xing Yao Yao and took her to a safe place. Seeing that the out-of-control truck was getting closer and closer to me, everyone was running for their lives, and no one cared whether I lived or died. Bang! Accompanied by the harsh sound of tires rubbing and the intense pain in my body, I clearly realized that I was dying. After the heart-wrenching pain, there was a sudden flash of white light in front of my eyes. When I regained consciousness, my soul was already floating in the air. The system let out a sigh. Host, you're dead again. Why did it say again? Because during the process of winning over Jiang Yan, I had actually died twice already. The first time was by drowning. Given a choice between me and Xing Yao Yao, Jiang Yan chose Xing Yao Yao. The second time was during an earthquake. Given a choice again, Jiang Yan still chose Xing Yao Yao. This time, in the car accident, given a choice once more, Jiang Yan chose Xing Yao Yao. The system asked me, I advised you to change the target of the strategy before, but you didn't agree. Do you regret it now? I said, no, I don't regret it. There was a moment of silence in the air. The system was extremely angry, and its usually cold electronic voice even carried a bit of the tone of being angry at someone's failure to live up to expectations. Host, do you know that just now was your last chance to complete the strategy mission? Do you understand what the last chance means? Of course I understood. This meant that I could no longer be reborn, but I really didn't regret it. At the beginning, we made an agreement that if the strategy was successful, you could exchange for a reward. Now that you've failed, you also have to accept the corresponding punishment. I let out an sound. I asked it, what kind of punishment? Your soul will be forever imprisoned by Jiang Yan's side. As soon as the words fell, an invisible force sent me back to the scene of the car accident. The wind whistled in my ears. The system's questioning voice echoed in the air. What on earth is so good about Jiang Yan? Is he worth you wasting all your chances to stay by his side? I should have just left you alone and let you fend for yourself since I knew you were so infatuated with love. I blinked my sore eyes, remained silent for a long time, and then said softly, well, leave me alone. 3. The system never expected that I would give such an answer. It didn't understand why I was so persistent with Jiang Yan. It angrily scolded me a few words and simply went into hibernation. I floated and sat on the roof of the car boredly Propping up my chin and looking at the chaotic crowd, I saw two familiar figures at a glance. Xing Yaoyao was tugging at the corner of Jiang Yan's clothes and talking, but he seemed not to hear her and just stared at me motionlessly. Oh, no, he was looking at my body that had been crushed by the truck. Everything around seemed to stand still. After a long time, he suddenly pushed Xing Yaoyao away and stumbled towards me. He even fell down on the way, and blood was flowing from his palm. My body was already unrecognizable. He just took one look and couldn't bear to look anymore. Turning his head away, I was a bit far away and saw his lips move, as if he was mumbling to himself. I quickly flew over and got close to him, but the moment I heard what he said clearly, a thunderbolt seemed to explode on my scalp. He said, "Xiaozhu, you'll definitely be okay. I know you're a strategist and can be reborn. You've died twice before, and you came back to life in the end. This time will be the same, right?" As he spoke, he seemed to regain his faith. He took a deep breath, wiped his face, and said firmly, "I'll wait for you to come back." I was extremely shocked. No wonder Jiang Yan knew that he could easily control me by threatening to break up, because he had known from the very beginning that I was a strategist. But he didn't know that that was my last chance to complete the strategy mission. "Jiang Yan, I can't come back." The ambulance and the police car arrived at the same time. When the doctor wanted to move my body into the car, Jiang Yan firmly blocked them. "No, don't touch Xiaozhu. She's not dead. She'll wake up in a few days." Everyone looked at each other in dismay. The doctor comforted him. "Mr. Jiang, I know you can't accept it for a while, but your girlfriend is already dead. You should take care of your health." When Jiang Yan heard the word dead, his emotions immediately became agitated. He grabbed the doctor's white coat, the veins on his arm bulged, and he shouted, "Shut up, Xiaozhu is not dead. How could she die? She clearly..." His voice stopped abruptly. I saw the nurse give him an injection. It should be a sedative or something similar. He let out a hiss of pain, stepped back with his hand covering his arm, and soon fainted on the stretcher bed. The atmosphere in the ambulance was heavy. No one spoke during the whole journey, until the nurse who was cleaning Jiang Yan's wound let out a gasp. Everyone followed her gaze and saw that Jiang Yan was crying. He was still in a coma and didn't have a clear perception, but the tears that spilled from the corners of his eyes had already soaked the dark stretcher bed. His relationship with his girlfriend should be really good, right? What a pity. Hearing these sighs, I couldn't help but sneer. If they had seen the former Jiang Yan, they would know how much he hated me. For the year I met Jiang Yan was the darkest period of my life. My parents got divorced, and neither of them wanted me. The only person in the world who was good to me passed away in the winter jasmine season that year, after being diagnosed with depression, when I held a small knife and wanted to stab it into my abdomen for the first time. The system found me. It said that as long as I completed the strategy mission and helped it achieve its key performance indicator, KPI, I could exchange for a reward. My eyelids twitched, and I asked it, "Can it bring back the dead?" The system was extremely certain. "Of course it can." It gave me a few days to personally select the target of the strategy mission, but I wasn't interested in anyone, until I met Jiang Yan in the Martyrs Cemetery. He was sitting on the long steps, and the fine spring rain with the broken hair on his forehead. He didn't speak or cry, he just sat there quietly. The wind blew the willow branches. I stood not far away and stared at the tear mole at the corner of his eye for a long time. Then I opened my mouth gently and told the system, "I want to choose him. The difficulty of winning him over is very high, and before you." The system hesitated and then reminded me, "There have been several strategists who were eliminated because of failure." "Are you sure?" I nodded firmly. The system couldn't persuade me. Helplessly, it helped me apply for 3 chances to complete the strategy mission. The higher the difficulty coefficient, the more chances for the strategy mission. From that day on, I spent time observing Jiang Yan and found that he was gentle, modest, and polite to everyone. But such a person spoke rudely to me the first time he saw me. "TSK, tell me, did you sprain your ankle this time? Or are you just going to throw yourself into my arms directly?" I was taken aback. He squinted his eyes at me and sneered, "What are you pretending to be stupid for? Even if women like you strip naked and stand in front of me, I still won't like you." I didn't understand what he meant at that time. Now that I think about it, he should have known that I was a strategist at that time. Otherwise, why would he reject me so much? Later, I always stayed by his side at a distance that was neither too far nor too close. Once, his friend called me and said that he had a stomachache and asked me to go and bring him medicine. When I arrived, I saw him sitting on the sofa full of energy. He asked me, "Why are you here again? You're really persistent." I pursed my lips and didn't say anything. just handed the medicine to him. He didn't take it. Instead, he leaned forward slightly and said in my ear, "Since you're already here, let me treat you to a drink, okay?" As soon as the words fell, my vision went blurry. Red wine was poured all over my head, flowing down my cheeks and wetting my chest all the way. The clothes in summer are very thin, and even the color of the camisole could be seen clearly. Jiang Yan glanced at me frivolously, seeing that I didn't react at all. He seemed even angrier. "You've been humiliated like this by me and were watched by so many people. Shenju, don't you have any self-esteem?" Only then did I look up at him. The flickering light fell on that face as clear as the breeze and the moon, and the tear mole at the corner of his eye seemed to be about to fall. At that moment, I opened my mouth, but I couldn't say a word of retort. It's hard to imagine that such a person would actually agree to be with me later. It was a drag racing competition. Jiang Yan surprisingly gave me an invitation. When I arrived, I happened to see him standing on the podium, hugging two hot car model girls. Our eyes met, and he smiled at me, a very bad smile. Then, under my gaze, he slowly kissed their lips. "You want to be with me, right now? Do you still want to?" After getting off the stage, he asked me this. I wiped the remaining lipstick from the corner of his mouth and said without hesitation, "Yes, I do." He looked at me for a long time, his eyes dark and unclear. Suddenly, he grabbed my wrist, pointed at the racing car not far away, and asked me fiercely, "Do you dare to play a game of speed of life and death? If you win, we'll be together." The gameplay of speed of life and death is very wild. The two cars collide, and whoever breaks first loses. The whole audience was in an uproar. Several girls tried to smooth things over for me. "Come on, forget it. Shenju has no experience at all. Aren't you forcing her to play with her life?" "Yeah, don't let the girl get hurt." Jiang Yan was indifferent, and I looked up at his face and slowly said two words, "Sure." The man's pupils suddenly shrank, and something seemed to flash in his eyes. I couldn't tell what it was. Anyway, in that game, he was the one who stepped on the brake first in the end. When I got out of the car, my stomach was churning, and I staggered and fell to my knees on the ground. Jiang Yan angrily threw his helmet, pulled me up, and roared at me, "Are you crazy? Don't you care about your life?" And I just looked at him calmly and asked, "Can we be together now?" His eyes were red, and he was speechless for a long time. Just like that, we naturally started dating for 2 years. Everyone said that I was deeply in love with Jiang Yan, but every time these words reached Jiang Yan's ears, he would always stare at me intently, the corners of his thin lips curving into a sarcastic arc. "Love. Women like this are the best at lying. She doesn't love me at all." I lowered my eyes and didn't say anything. After that, he often brought women home, tested my bottom line, and always threatened to break up to force me to compromise. Later, Xing Yaoyao returned to the country. There were 3 times of choosing between 2 people. I died each time because of Jiang Yan's choice. Each time I died, the world restarted, until I used up my last chance to complete the strategy mission and could no longer be reborn. In fact, if you think about it carefully, how could the person being strategized show compassion for a strategist with false feelings when they know everything? After all, I was too naive. 5. When Jiang Yan woke up, I was floating around boredly in the ward. The door was suddenly pushed open. Xing Yaoyao walked forward with red eyes, firmly grabbed his hand, and asked with concern, "Ian, are you feeling better? You really scared me just now." She was referring to what Jiang Yan said at the scene of the car accident, that I would wake up again, but obviously, Jiang Yan didn't want to talk to her much. He propped himself up, unlocked his phone, looked at the time, and suddenly said in surprise, 2 hours have already passed." Xing Yaoyao didn't understand and asked in agreement, "Yeah, what's wrong?" Jiang Yan's eyes flickered violently with emotions. His fingers couldn't help but tremble slightly, and his voice was tight. "This is impossible. It's absolutely impossible." Xing Yaoyao was scared by him and stood there stunned, not daring to say anything. The first 2 times, the world restarted less than half an hour after I died, but this time, 2 hours had passed, and the world was still going on. Jiang Yan suddenly stood up, his expression desolate, like a trapped beast. After a moment, he seemed to think of something, pulled out the indwelling needle, and ran outside. Xing Yaoyao quickly chased after him. I floated behind them, secretly guessing where Jiang Yan would go, until the familiar house number appeared in front of my eyes. I realized that he had come to my home. When the door lock was pried open, Jiang Yan rushed in at the first moment and started searching for my figure everywhere. "Xiaozhu, I know you're not dead. Are you hiding from me?" There was no one in the living room, no one in the kitchen, and no one in the study. Finally, it was my bedroom. After pushing the door open, he suddenly stopped, as if he was nailed there. unable to even take a step, because the 4 snow-white walls were covered with photos. He looked at them one by one, and a thin layer of red gradually appeared at the corners of his eyes. Ian, you took so many photos with her. Xing Yaoya's face was ugly, and the jealousy in her eyes couldn't be suppressed at all. We've known each other for more than 10 years. And you've never. Halfway through her words, she suddenly fell silent. Jiang Yan stared at her fixedly, his face turning gray and then pale. He almost squeezed out these 4 words from his throat. This isn't me. I looked at the man with a warm smile in the photos and couldn't help but bend my lips. Yes, that wasn't Jiang Yan. Why did I choose him as my target for the strategy mission at first sight? Why did I waste all 3 chances on him? Wasn't it just because of his face? That face exactly like his. The window on the balcony wasn't closed tightly. The evening wind blew into the room and blew down a group photo. Jiang Yan picked it up. When he saw the beautiful handwriting on the back, his eyes suddenly turned red. Wish my little bamboo peace and safety, Lin Su. 6. Memories, like the wind at dusk, slowly dispelled the haze in my heart. The first time I heard the name Lin Su, it was in the afternoon of the class division exam at the beginning of the 2nd year of high school. 10 years ago, my deskmate was a hooligan who even copied my homework. Before the exam, he asked me to help him cheat, but I refused, so that day after school, he blocked me at the back door of the classroom and laughed at me in front of all the classmates. Fatty girl, you're ugly, and you're not kind-hearted either. Letting you pass the answers is doing a good deed and accumulating virtue. Understand, you don't appreciate it. No wonder you're fat and ugly. At that time, because I had taken a lot of traditional Chinese medicine to treat acne, the hormones in my body were disordered, and I was really as fat as a little penguin. Many classmates were echoing. I blushed and was overwhelmed by a sense of inferiority. In the midst of so many taunts, suddenly a clear male voice interjected. Are you so proud of commenting on a girl's appearance? My eyes followed the sound. A boy in a black t-shirt and a black baseball cap stood beside me with his hands in his pockets. Later I learned that his name was Lin Su, a senior 2 years older than me. Lin Su raised his chin, motioned to my deskmate with his eyes, and said in a contemptuous tone, I'm asking you, trash, bug, you don't know how to respect girls, do you? My deskmate was stunned for a moment. After reacting, he cursed and took off his school uniform jacket, about to start a fight. Lin Su took 2 steps forward and stood in front of me. I don't remember clearly what happened next. Before the fight, Lin Su put his hat on my head, and my vision was completely blocked. I could only hear the painful grunts of my deskmate. When it was quiet around me, I slowly looked up and met a pair of cold eyes. It's okay now, you can go home. Lin Su's voice was very low, but it carried a soothing power. From that day on, my deskmate never troubled me again and even took the initiative to ask the teacher to change seats. I knew that Lin Su had helped, because several times when I was going home after school, I saw him hooking my deskmate's shoulder. He seemed to be smiling, but his eyes were extremely cold. Ah, bro, just forgive me. I'll never bully girls again. Lin Su frowned and kicked him. Has your mouth learned to be good, very good? When his expression softened a bit, my deskmate rode away on his bike. I was very grateful to Lin Su, so I bought a bunch of snacks to thank him. He was playing basketball with his friends at that time. After hearing why I came, he raised his eyebrows, lowered his head and took the cheapest lollipop, and smiled at me. Thanks, you can keep the rest. Just like that, I carried the snacks back to the classroom. After school, when passing by the grocery store, Lin Su and his friends were walking in front. A few meters away, I heard someone ask him, who's the girl who gave you snacks this afternoon? Her face is pretty, but she's too fat. I subconsciously held my breath, wanting to hear the answer. Lin Su suddenly stopped, punched the man on the shoulder, and said seriously, shut up. After walking a few steps, he took out the lollipop from his pocket, unwrapped it, and put it in his mouth, saying vaguely, she's quite cute. My steps stopped in place, looking at their receding backs. I suddenly realized that was the first time someone described me as cute. It was as if an electric current passed through the tip of my heart, making it tingle. The schoolwork in the 3rd year of high school was very heavy, and I lost more than 20 pounds from being tired. Gradually, many boys began to chase me and write me love letters, but because of this, I was excluded by a small group of girls. They called me to a corner where no one was around, a place where the surveillance couldn't reach. I was pinned to the ground. The girl in the lead took a cup of boiling water and poured it on my calf little by little. You were so fat before, now that you've lost weight, you're even wearing a short skirt. Huh, who are you seducing? Are you very proud that my boyfriend wrote you a love letter? I was in so much pain that I couldn't speak clearly, and my voice was intermittent. Who's your boyfriend? This sentence seemed to offend her somehow. She got even angrier and told the others to hold my chin. The boiling water was poured towards my face. I closed my eyes subconsciously, but the imagined pain didn't come. Instead, I fell into a warm embrace. The boy's firm chest muscles almost suffocated me. How are you? Are you okay? Hearing the familiar clear voice, I suddenly opened my eyes and found that my back was already soaked in cold sweat. The girl was pushed to the ground and let out a scream. The boiling water scalded her own face. The commotion was so loud that when the dean came, those girls were so scared that they confessed everything. Lin Su greeted the dean and then picked me up in his arms and rushed all the way to the school infirmary. When disinfecting and applying a cold compress, it hurt so much that I wanted to cry, but I gritted my teeth and tried very hard to hold back my tears. Lin Su lowered his eyes and looked at me for a long time. He opened his mouth and said, "If you want to cry, just cry." I'm not a person who loves to cry. Since I was very young, my parents had both cheated on each other. They didn't love me. They got married just to get me a household registration. Every time I was wronged and wanted to talk, all I got in return were scoldings and rebukes. Come on, why are you so sensitive? Isn't it just being called fat? Who hasn't been scolded? I named you Shinju, hoping you'd be as tough as bamboo. But all you do is cry. It's so annoying. When I saw other children cry, their parents would come to comfort them, but if I cried, my parents would be even more annoyed with me. Tears are just useless liquid in front of people who don't care about you. So later, no matter how uncomfortable I was, I never cried again. But that evening, in the infirmary, Lin Su rubbed my head, leaned over and looked at me, and said, "Your eyes are all red." I closed my eyes and wanted to turn my back. Then I heard him sigh, "Shinju, you can show weakness in front of me." 7. Because of those words, my tears burst out instantly. When I cried until it was getting dark and the school doctor was about to get off work, I realized that I didn't bring my wallet. Lin Su paid for me. I wrote down his phone number, added him as a friend when I got home, and transferred the money to him, but he didn't accept it for a long time until it was returned the next day. I sent a question mark. He replied immediately, "What's wrong? Why didn't you accept it? Keep it for now. Let's have a meal after your college entrance examination." I held my phone, and the corners of my mouth turned up unconsciously. Unfortunately, things didn't go as expected. After the college entrance examination, Lin Su seemed to have disappeared from the world. All the messages I sent him sank without a trace. The next time we met was on New Year's Eve, the year I was a sophomore. My parents had already started living apart, and there was only me in the huge house. Firecrackers were going off downstairs. I was huddled in my room, watching the Spring Festival gala alone. When the clock struck 0, my phone suddenly vibrated. "LX, Happy New Year." I was stunned. My heart seemed to skip a beat, and my fingertips typing were trembling. "Lin Su, is that you, or has your account been hacked?" The words typing were displayed at the top of the chat box. I waited for about 5 minutes and finally got his reply. It was very short, only 2 words. "Yes, it's me. Where have you been these 2 years? Why didn't you contact me?" I couldn't say the second half of the sentence, but the person on the other side seemed to sense it in advance and sent me a voice call. I answered, suddenly hearing that familiar yet unfamiliar clear voice. I didn't know what to say for a moment. It was Lin Su who broke the silence first. He asked me to go to the balcony and face the 2 o'clock direction. I didn't understand, but I did as he said. A dozen seconds later, with a bang, a brilliant firework bloomed in the lonely night sky. The petals fell like rain, as if within reach. I kept the phone answering posture and looked up for a long time. A man's deep voice came from the other end. "Sorry, I was on a mission before and my phone was handed in. I missed a lot of your messages." My breath caught. Suddenly I remembered that Lin Su studied in a police academy, last year at this time. "You wished me a happy new year. This year it's my turn." After hanging up the phone, I saw the replies from my parents. "Happy New Year, Dad. Got it. Happy New Year, Mom. Busy." None of them wished me a happy new year. Only Lin Su, only Lin Su, only Lin Su, who, after being out of touch for 2 years, set off fireworks for me on New Year's Eve to wish me a happy new year. I said before, I don't like to cry, but the tears just wouldn't listen. The 2 years of my junior and senior years of college were some of the few happy times in my life. After Lin Su was transferred back to this city, we met more often, and our relationship gradually became closer. My roommate asked me, "Is the handsome guy who comes to pick you up downstairs your boyfriend?" I denied it. "No, he's just my brother." After answering, my face felt hot. Would a brother take his sister to a couple's restaurant on a date every week? Would a brother look at his sister when asked if there was a girl he liked present during a game of truth or dare? Would a brother climb over the wall to carry his sister to the hospital in the early hours of the morning when he learned that she had menstrual cramps and stay up all night to rub her stomach? No, but I didn't dare to ask more. Lin Su was like a distant oasis that a traveler in the desert suddenly saw to me. I could only look at it foolishly from afar. I was afraid that if I got closer, the beautiful dream would be shattered. At the end of May, approaching graduation, I was exhausted by my graduation project every day. Lin Su drove me to the beach to relax. On the way, we met several couples who invited us to play kayaking together. It seemed to be a competition activity carried out by a certain company. They were short of people temporarily. Come on, little sister, your boyfriend has such a good figure. He must have good physical strength. Right, if you win first place, there's a reward. My ears turned red. Ah, he's not. Okay, Lin Su interrupted me. I looked at him. I don't know if it was my illusion. The man's lips seemed to curl up. When we got on the kayak, a few seconds before the start of the competition, I belatedly asked, so what's the reward for first place? Lin Su's eyes shifted. And he replied a little unnaturally, a very delicate Swiss Army knife, very delicate. Judging by his tone, Lin Su should like it very much. With the belief of wanting to win first place, even though neither Lin Su nor I had much experience, we gradually fought our way to the top 3, but the first place team seemed to be at a king level. In the end, even Lin Su, who had good physical strength, was gritting his teeth and persevering. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw the veins bulging on his arm and the cold sweat oozing from his forehead. Actually, I really wanted to tell him that it was okay if we couldn't win. I would give him an even more delicate Swiss Army knife tonight. While thinking, our kayak was slowly overtaking the first place team. When we passed by, the person on the opposite side suddenly let go and said to Lin Su with a smile, "Brother, you're really going all out. My wife is shy. She definitely won't be willing to kiss in front of so many people. First place is for you." I was stunned. What kiss? Wasn't it a Swiss Army knife? When I turned back and met Lin Su's smiling eyes, I realized that I had been deceived. Sorry, I had ulterior motives. Lin Su took my hand and stood by the beautiful sunset-lit beach, whispering an apology to me. The reward for first place was never a Swiss Army knife. It was 2 plane tickets to the capital and, kiss your loved one. My mind went blank. It would be meaningless for me to pretend to be stupid anymore. Lin Su, actually you don't have to be so desperate. You don't have to be so desperate. I will still be with you. He looked at me quietly and slowly said, Xiaozhu, I wanted to win. I wanted to be with you. And I also wanted to. He pursed his lips and gently held my face. Kiss you. Thump thump thump. My heart almost jumped out of my chest. Lin Su tilted his head and kissed my forehead piously. The picture was frozen at this moment. Xiaozhu, I'm holding your hand. 8. Being Lin Su's girlfriend was a very happy thing. He was always gentle and always emotionally stable. No matter how many conflicts there were between us, the first one to give in was definitely him. Alas, little ancestor, I was wrong. Please talk to me. When I received this reconciliation text message, I was standing at the entrance of the police station, bringing medicine to Lin Su. Lin Su had a bad stomach and often had stomach aches. When he got off work and came out with his colleagues, when he saw my figure, his eyes lit up. Xiaozhu. But before he could reach me, the corner of his clothes was grabbed by a female colleague. Axu, my car broke down. Can you give me a ride? I stood there, looking at them with interest. Lin Su frowned and pulled his clothes back from her hand, then waved back. Luo, you take her. He lives in the opposite direction from my home. The female colleague bit her lip and asked pitifully, Are you afraid that Sister Xiaozhu will misunderstand? I can explain it to her for you. Lin Su raised his eyebrows, and a look of impatience appeared in his eyes. Sorry, I don't have the habit of spending anniversaries with 3 people. I couldn't help but laugh. The female colleague was left embarrassed and soon left. Lin Su opened his arms and walked towards me, hugged me, and spun me around on the spot. My time is precious. I can only use it to accompany my girlfriend. I was ticklish and gently dodged. Didn't you say you had a stomachache? Take the medicine first. He opened the car door, protected my head, and carried me into the passenger seat, smiling and saying, I don't feel the pain when I see you. Lin Su started the car, looked straight ahead, and when the traffic light stopped, he suddenly handed me a bunch of champagne roses. I bought it casually during my lunch break. Thought I had to coax you since I made you angry. After handing it to me, he raised his hand and rubbed the tip of his nose, as if he wanted to sneeze but held it back forcefully. I sensed something was wrong. I lifted the collar of his shirt, and sure enough, saw a large patch of red rashes. "You idiot, you're allergic to pollen. Are you trying to kill yourself?" I urged him to go to the hospital. The young doctor who received us looked at him with a smile. "Allergic for love, amazing." I blushed and turned my head away, but heard Lin Su say generously, "That's right, she's my whole world." Everything between Lin Su and me was so smooth that it felt unreal. Our innocent first love had no absurd mistress, no misunderstandings, no cheating, and we just walked all the way to the engagement. Lin Su took marriage leave in advance to accompany me to Suzhou. I don't know why, but recently my heart has been vague pain off and on. As if I was about to lose something important, I was very uneasy. When we went to Shiyuan Temple to ask for a peace talisman, I knelt in front of the Buddha, kowtowed 3 times, and clasped my hands together, closing my eyes to pray. I hoped that Lin Su would have a safe and smooth life, full of happiness and no worries. As if there was a telepathy, I looked back and happened to meet his eyes. Lin Su stood under the Bodhi tree full of red silk, smiling at me with his eyes bent. At that moment, I thought that if there really was a God, he must be able to hear how much I liked Lin Su. We walked out of the temple hand in hand. A little girl politely stopped us and handed us a group photo. "I saw you two looking at each other just now. It was so artistic, so I took a photo and gave it to you." Lin Su thanked her with a smile and put that photo in the pocket closest to his heart. On the second day of the marriage leave, Lin Su received a call and left in a hurry. He hugged me tightly and said, "Shenju, when the mission is completed, I'll marry you." Before I could say anything, the door was closed. The summer evening wind rushed into the room, but I inexplicably shivered. In the next 6 months, Lin Su lost contact again. Soon it was the end of the year again, just like a few years ago. I huddled in the huge room, watching the Spring Festival gala. My phone rang. I answered it. Fireworks exploded outside the window, and it was also very noisy on the other end. There were the sounds of firecrackers, curses, screams, and even gunshots, all mixed together. After a pause, he softly called my name, Xiaozhu. My tears immediately flowed down. "Where are you? Are you okay? Are you hurt anywhere?" He avoided answering, his breathing heavy. "Are the fireworks beautiful this year?" "Yes, but unfortunately not as good as the ones you gave me that year. When I was 20, Lin Su once set off fireworks for me." The wall clock ticked, and the hour hand pointed to 0. He interrupted me. "Xiaozhu, Happy New Year, Happy New Year, Happy New Year," one after another, each sound getting lower. I covered my face and bit my lip tightly, not letting myself make any sound. Tears struggled to flow out of my eyes, dripping onto the dark blanket, forming large water stains. I knew he wanted to say all the blessings for the rest of his life. Bang, gunshots rang out, deafening. Almost instantly, the phone was hung up. Only the fireworks outside the window were reflected on the cold glass, flickering on and off, endlessly. I knelt on the ground, sobbing uncontrollably. "Lin Su, you lied. You clearly said you would accompany me for a lifetime. You clearly said you would marry me after the mission. You lied. You liar, liar." 9. When I saw Lin Su's body, I could hardly breathe. It was as if someone was choking my throat tightly, like a piercing pain as a needle pierced my skin and oozed blood, painful to the point of numbness. "Wake up, Lin Su, don't sleep, get up." "Okay." No one answered me. I held his cold hand and kept rubbing it. It should be able to warm up. Luo's eyes were red with tears, choking as he said, "Sister-in-law, I'm sorry." The day of the arrest was going smoothly at first, but those damned people actually carried guns with them. Captain Lin was shot and forced into the forest by them. When we arrived, we found that he had killed several drug dealers, but he himself, he couldn't continue. He tremblingly handed Lin Su's hangover to me, the peace talisman pierced by a bullet hole, the photo stained with blood, and on the back of the photo, a line of words was written at some point, "Wish my little bamboo peace and safety, Lin Su." How ridiculous. The person who wished me peace finally didn't get peace. I don't know how I got home, nor how I endured until Lin Su was buried. There was no name on his tombstone. Every day, I just sat on the steps of the martyrs' cemetery, looking at that square tombstone. When I wanted to commit suicide, the system found me. I agreed to help it complete the strategy mission because I wanted to revive Lin Su, but finding a target for the strategy mission was really, really difficult. My mind was full of Lin Su. Lin Su who stood up for me in the classroom when I was 17, Lin Su who saved me from the bullies, carried me into the infirmary when I was 18, Lin Su who set off fireworks for me and wished me a happy new year when I was 20, Lin Su who kissed me by the sea and confessed to me when I was 23, Lin Su who would send me flowers to coax me even though he was allergic when I was 24. Lin Su, who smiled at me under the Bodhi tree in Jiatai Temple when I was 25, and finally, Lin Su, who was lying underground, lifeless, when he was 26. How could I forget him? So when I saw Jiang Yan for the first time, I decided to choose him. Only by looking at this face that was exactly like Lin Su's day and night could I have the motivation to live. It was very despicable, right? But at that time, I was really on the verge of collapse. I would go crazy if I couldn't see that face. 10. So all your previous actions of being a love-struck fool weren't for Jiang Yan. The system, which had been dormant for a long time, suddenly spoke again. But for Lin Su, I nodded. At the same time, Jiang Yan, who had learned the truth, started to go crazy in my apartment. All the photos of me and Lin Su were torn off one by him and thrown into the trash can. His eyes were red, and he pressed the lighter. Coldly watching the dancing flames lick the photos inch by inch, I was extremely angry and rushed over to stop him. But as soon as my fingers touched his body, they passed through suddenly. It's no use, host, you're already dead. Yes, I was just a soul and couldn't reach the physical object at all. In despair, the system gave me an idea. I can self-destruct, to exchange for one last chance for you to complete the strategy mission. I was stunned, my lips trembling as I asked, why? It was silent for a moment and then replied, because your lover is a hero shouldn't end up as dry bones in the lus, he should be alive and enjoy a happy and fulfilling life. Almost instantly, my eyes filled with tears, my consciousness was gradually stripped away, and that white light appeared in front of my eyes again. The system's voice was getting farther and farther away. In the end, there was only a murmur, host, this time, it's really the last time. I wish you all the best. Bring Lin Su back safely. 11. When I opened my eyes again, the world had restarted. The familiar apartment environment gave me a bit of a sense of reality. I propped myself up and saw that all the photos on the wall were still intact, so I couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. My fingertips gently caressed Lin Su's face. He smiled so gently at me. Suddenly, there was a violent impact sound at the entrance. The door opened. It was Jiang Yan. He should have run here, right? His hair was messy. The moment he saw me, he grabbed my wrist and asked, who is he? Shinju, are you using me as a substitute? I smiled, unable to control myself. My fingertips brushed across the tear mole at the corner of his eye. Jiang Yan and Lin Su looked so alike. Even the position of this tear mole was exactly the same. After not getting an answer from me for a long time, the strength in Jiang Yan's hand gradually increased, and his eyes gradually turned red. You know what? At first, I really hated you. I hated your scheming approach, your false concern. Do you, as strategists, even consider me a person? Weave a beautiful dream for me, deceive me into falling in love with you, and then throw me away like trash. Finally tell me that it was all fake. He shook my shoulders vigorously. I couldn't stand it, and my back was pressed against the wall. I thought you were different from them. Because no matter how much I humiliated you, how much I made things difficult for you, the way you looked at me always had deep love in it. So that last time, I was really about to fall in love with you. His hands were propped on both sides of me. His right hand clenched into a fist and slammed hard against the wall. His voice was so trembling. I thought you were dead. I rushed into your house like crazy, but then I saw, he grabbed my wrist, pushed open the bedroom door, and pointed at the photos all over the wall, laughing wildly, his eyes getting redder and redder. Is it fun, Shinju? Tell me, is it fun to play with other people's true feelings? I really hate you, because you're more despicable than them. I was pushed to the ground, the cold tile scratched my palm, blood dripped down, staining the ground red. It hurt so much, but I had already cried so much that I couldn't cry anymore. Speak, who are you looking at through my face? I slowly propped myself up, looked up into his eyes, and replied word by word, my lover. He suddenly fell silent. His face was so pale that it was almost colorless, and his eyelashes were trembling uncontrollably. Fine, you really have something. He slowly turned his back, raised his hand to wipe his eyes. When he turned to me again, he was full of hostility. He pinched my neck. Since that's the case, I'll kill you and let you go down to accompany him. How about that? I closed my eyes and didn't struggle, letting him tighten his hand vigorously. Cough, cough. Actually, I should have died a long time ago. I should have died in that car accident. It was the system. The system sacrificed itself to let me be reborn. Jiang Yan didn't say anything, just gritted his teeth and looked at me. His eyes were so terrifying that he seemed to want to tear me apart. I thought I might have let the system down. Jiang Yan really hated me. My chest was very stuffy, my throat was hoarse, and I gradually couldn't make a sound. I was so breathless that I was about to suffocate. Suddenly, that hand let go of me. Jiang Yan clamped my chin. When he spoke, his voice was extremely cold. I suddenly changed my mind. It's really boring to let you die so easily. It's better to keep you by my side and let you witness your own death. 12. I was imprisoned in Jiang Yan's private villa. He was a completely different person from Lin Su. I could always tell who was who clearly. If Lin Su was the moon hanging high in the sky, then Jiang Yan was a wild and unruly lone wolf. He locked me in the room, except for bringing 3 meals a day. The door was always tightly closed. At first, I refused to eat no matter what. Jiang Yan squatted in front of me, his fingertips pinching a photo of me and Lin Su. He took out a lighter from his pocket and pressed the switch. The flames leaped across the edge of the photo. Every time you go on a hunger strike from now on, I'll burn a photo, until all the photos are burned. I struggled to rush over, but my wrist was firmly grasped. Jiang Yan did what he said. I watched helplessly as several photos turned to ashes. Those were my only memories. I didn't dare to go against Jiang Yan anymore. I don't know if it was my illusion, but after I ate on time, he visibly relaxed. Occasionally, he would also be merciful and take me out, but every time on such occasions, there were other women around Jiang Yan. If you looked carefully, you would find that they all looked a bit like me, just like he was taking revenge on me for using him as a substitute. I could only pretend not to see. Time passed day by day. Counting the days, Xing Yaoyao would return to the country today. The choosing between 2 people was about to start again, but this time, I was really tired. I lay on the cold floor, staring at the ceiling in a daze. I was thinking that if Jiang Yan still chose Xing Yaoyao, then after I died, could I see Lin Su? Could we still be together? Then let me die. When this thought came to my mind, I was surprisingly calm. The only thing I felt guilty about was the system. It sacrificed itself. But I was so useless. There was the sound of a car engine downstairs. Along with it came the girl's soft coquettish voice and the man's doting response. A thunderbolt split the sky outside the window, and a thick tree crown was split in half. The door of the room was pushed open. Xing Yaoyao walked over and kicked me on the ground with her toes, sneering at me. I looked at the window with empty eyes, until the lightning struck the villa. All the lights in the room went out, and thick, choking smoke kept pouring in. The roof beam suddenly fell, trapping me and Xing Yaoyao in the corner. I thought I finally knew how I was going to die this time. The fire was raging. In a trance, I seemed to see Jiang Yan rushing into the room. His clothes were messy, and he was in a panic. After looking at me, he didn't stop and went straight to the dying Xing Yaoyao. For the last time, he still chose her. I closed my eyes in despair. It seemed that someone turned around and rushed towards me. A pair of hands steadily supported my waist. Shenzhu, why do you have to be a strategist? Why do you have a lover who died on duty? These days of torturing you, I feel like I'm going crazy too. Jiang Yan patted my face. I really wanted to open my eyes, but my eyelids were so heavy. Your lover's name is Lin Su, right? To be honest, I'm so jealous of him. Just now I was thinking, if it were him, he would definitely rush towards you the first time, right? The man's fingers stroked my neck and touched my face. After a while, he sighed softly. You're safe now. I should go back and save Yaoyao. The fire is quite big. Do you think if I don't come out, it would be okay? He let out a low laugh and answered his own question. That would be fine too. By the way, will you miss me like you miss him? Alas, it doesn't matter. I seemed to smell the smell of the wind, the smell of freedom. There was a warm touch on my lips. It was as light as a dragonfly skimming the water. At the very end, he said, be happy. Xiaozhu. I slowly opened my eyes and looked at the villa not far away. The raging fire was devouring it. Ding, a mechanical electronic sound rang in my ear. Congratulations, host, the strategy mission is successful. The mission reward is being exchanged. 13. When I saw Lin Su standing in front of me alive, I pinched my thigh hard. He took my wrist, turned his head, and looked at me with a smile. Xiaozhu, I'm back. I stood there stupidly, my legs weak, not even daring to blink. I was really scared that the Lin Su in front of me was an illusion. He looked at me quietly, with a gentle pull. He hugged me into his arms. My eyes were hot and wet, and I hugged him back tightly. I cried and babbled to him about everything that had happened during this period, about how the system found me when I committed suicide after his death, about the 3 failed strategy missions and the sacrifice of the system, about my entanglement with Jiang Yan. He listened very carefully, extremely carefully. After I finished, I looked up at him with red eyes. He gently rubbed my head. Xiaozhu, you really worked hard for me. That night, Lin Su bought 2 plane tickets to Suzhou. He said he owed me a complete trip and wanted to make it up to me. This bastard tossed me around all night. The next morning at 5 o'clock, he even dragged me to climb the mountain to watch the sunrise. I was so sleepy that I could hardly keep my eyes open. I saw a strip of fish, belly white, emerging along the horizon, a red sun hanging in the blue sky, and the sunlight dyed the clouds rose-colored. I leaned on Lin Su, staring at the tear mole at the corner of his eye. He noticed my gaze and raised his eyebrows at me. He asked me, "What's wrong?" I said, "People who watch the sunrise together will be together for a long, long time. It's a very silly thing to say, right?" He also laughed and pinched the tip of my nose. "Silly girl, I'll always be by your side." We walked down the mountain through the thin mist. When we reached Pingjiang, it started to drizzle. The boatman paddled his oar and shouted at me, "It's raining. Do you want to take a whooping boat?" I looked back at Lin Su. He was taking off his windbreaker, wanting to shield me from the rain. I shook my head at the boatman, took Lin Su's hand, and said, "Let's just walk." The rain was fine and gentle, like a veil, falling on our hair and shoulders. As we strolled along the ancient streets, the sound of raindrops on the eaves was like a soft melody. Lin Su's hand was warm, and I held it tightly, afraid that if I let go, this beautiful dream would shatter. We passed by a small tea house. The aroma of tea wafted out, mixed with the smell of rain. Lin Su pulled me in, and we sat by the window, watching the rain-washed world outside. The waiter brought 2 cups of biluakun, the green tea leaves unfurled in the hot water, giving off a fresh fragrance. Lin Su took a sip and then looked at me, his eyes full of tenderness. "Xiaozhu, this trip, I want to make up for all the time we lost." I nodded, my eyes a little misty again. "Lin Su, I'm so afraid that this is all a dream. I'm afraid that when I wake up, you'll be gone again." He reached out and wiped the teardrop from the corner of my eye, his voice soft but firm. "It's not a dream. I'm right here. I'll never leave you again." After leaving the tea house, we continued to wander. We stopped in front of a small handicraft shop. There were all kinds of delicate handicrafts in the shop, and my eyes were immediately attracted by a pair of bamboo-shaped pendants. Lin Su noticed my interest and went in to buy them. He put one around my neck and put the other in his pocket. "Now, we're connected, no matter where we are." As the day gradually turned into evening, the lights in the ancient town were lit one by one. The warm yellow light reflected on the water, creating a dreamy scene. We found a small restaurant by the river and ordered some local specialties. While eating, Lin Su suddenly took out a small box from his pocket. My heart skipped a beat. He opened the box, and inside was a simple but elegant ring. "Xiaozhu, I know I proposed to you before, but this time I want to do it again. Will you marry me? Let me take care of you for the rest of our lives." Tears welled up in my eyes again, and I nodded vigorously. "Yes, I will." He gently put the ring on my finger, then leaned over and kissed me. At that moment, the world around us seemed to fade away, and there were only the two of us, in this small corner of the ancient town, surrounded by love. The days that followed were like a beautiful poem. Lin Su and I traveled to many places, making up for all the missed moments. Everywhere we went, we left behind our laughter and sweet memories. One day, while we were lying on the beach, watching the sunset, I suddenly thought of Jiang Yan. I knew that I owed him an apology, but I also knew that I could never repay him for what he had done. Lin Su seemed to sense my thoughts. He took my hand and said, "Xiaozhu, everyone has their own destiny. Jiang Yan, he made his own choices, and you've finally found your happiness." I turned to look at him, and in his eyes, I saw my own reflection, as well as a future full of hope. With Lin Su by my side, I knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, we could face them together, because our love was like a lighthouse in the vast ocean, guiding us through the darkest nights and towards a bright future. Story 2. After returning to the Zhou family from the orphanage, Zhou Yuanma refused our arranged marriage because he was concerned about his childhood friend. When she came to me, I tried to reassure her, "The marriage is just for business, it will be in name only, and within 3 years, he will be free again." But she didn't believe me and chose to be with someone else. In the end, she became a mere plaything and died from abuse. Later, Zhou Yuanma took over the Zhou family business. He began to pull his investments from our company, pressuring me to desperate measures to secure funds. Unwilling to endure humiliation, I jumped from the balcony. When I opened my eyes again, I was back to the day she came to me. After 3 years of marriage, I never thought that the person Zhou Yuanma hated the most would be me. Just last night, under the glow of the crystal lamp and by the light of our glasses, we shared a smile. I toasted to his hard-earned success in taking over the Zhou group, and to the unspoken understanding and support we had for each other over the years. I had finally acknowledged in my heart that he was the right person for me. I thought our future would be together. growing old side by side, but the very next morning, the whole city's media was reporting that the Zhou family had withdrawn their investments from the Chia family. The model couple that we were known as for 3 years was heading for a split. 2. Early in the morning, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. Company shareholders, media journalists, friends, and relatives were all asking me, what happened? The stock market plummeted as soon as it opened. From disbelief at first, I finally had to accept that it was Zhou Yuanma. He was targeting the Chia family. He was targeting me. But why? I couldn't understand. It wasn't until the evening that Zhou Yuanma barely responded with a message. It was a room number and a location. I rushed there, wanting to confront him, only to find not just him but other men in the room. As the door closed, I saw on a small table by the bed a row of unspeakable tools. Zhou Yuanma had a cigarette in his mouth. His expression was cool and his smile chilling. His next words were colder than his smile. Since we're married, I've arranged for you to meet a few executives. Take good care of them, and money won't be an issue. For a moment, I thought I had misheard. Then, I felt as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over me. I trembled all over. Zhou Yuanma, have you lost your mind? His gaze shifted slightly but remained unfathomable and extremely dangerous. Realizing something was wrong, I tried to leave but was surrounded by walls of people, their faces flushed, their smiles wicked. Their vulgar words forced me to keep stepping back until my back was against a cold, hard railing. There was no escape. 3. Why? My eyes welled up, and I nearly bit through my lip. Zhou Yuanma dismissed my predicament with a stern face and a cold snort. He said, Xiao Shuyang, Miss Qiao, what makes you think you're more noble than Yining? What she has been through, why can't you? Yining, Qi Yining. My head exploded with a bang. A strong, complex, and utterly ridiculous emotion filled my chest. I even laughed out loud. So, was he avenging his childhood friend? He actually blamed me for Qi Yining's death. Zhou Yuanma, are you stupid? That was her own choice. I tried to convince him, but he ruthlessly cut me off. Enough. A storm was brewing in his dark eyes. My dignity wouldn't allow me to beg him, especially since I wasn't in the wrong. Is there nothing to discuss? Zhou Yuanma arrogantly raised an eyebrow, his tone scornful. Do you think you're in a position to negotiate with me now? He was intelligent and resourceful. This was not just revenge for one night. It wouldn't end so easily, and for this night, I didn't want to comply with his wishes. Mimicking his disdainful posture, I smirked. You really are a fool. Then, amidst his astonished gaze, I forcefully leapt over the railing and tightly shut my eyes. I jumped. Miss Qiao, are you listening to me? The intense whistling sound by my ear suddenly ceased, replaced by a gentle female voice, who was speaking. My confused gaze shifted from the water in my cup to the person sitting across from me. She had a delicate and pretty face, the kind people describe as a first love face online. No wonder Zhou Yuanma kept her in his heart. Unforgettable. If it weren't for seeing Qi Yining again, I would have forgotten her later pretense of climbing the social ladder and her arrogant demeanor toward me. Miss Qiao, pretending to rub my temple, I tiredly said, sorry, I was busy late last night. Miss Qiao has worked hard. Qi Yining bit her red lips, her eyes brimming with tears. After a quiet moment, she spoke again. Mo and I shared hardships in the orphanage, growing up together. He's the person I rely on the most. I'm not as good as Miss Qiao in every way. He's all I have. So, Miss Qiao, could you please not marry him? I was once moved by their bond when I heard the same plea before, but I, born and raised in a wealthy family, to me, the least significant thing was this romantic love. My marriage would inevitably be based on maximizing benefits, so I could only placate her subtly. The marriage of business is nominal. He'll be free in less than 3 years. I never thought that Zhou Yuanma would choose the Zhou family over Qi Yining only temporarily, because he wanted power and profit, nor did I expect Qi Yining to distrust me, later frequently sparking rumors with prominent family heirs. She thought she was being welcomed by a prestigious family, but little did she know, she was merely being used as a plaything by others, falling into an abyss, and ultimately suffering a tragic death. I never expected that Zhou Yuanma had spent years lying low, harboring such hatred towards me. Perhaps it was divine intervention, but I was reborn. I didn't feel any pain at all. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself sitting here, digging my nails into my palm. I felt the real pain of flesh. Only then did I come back to my senses, meeting Qi Yining's eager gaze. I slightly curved the corners of my lips. Okay. Qi Yining was astonished, seemingly in disbelief that I had agreed so straightforwardly. After her initial surprise, she thanked me repeatedly with tears in her eyes. Then, with trembling hands, she took out her phone to call Zhou Yuanma. I'm sorry. I didn't consult you before asking Miss Chiao out privately. But she just agreed not to engage in a marriage alliance with you. After she spoke, she quietly watched me, waiting for my response, and I, as if I didn't understand her hint, looked back innocently, until Zhou Yuanma's voice came through. Really, it's true, Qi Yining affirmed loudly. After speaking, she looked at me again. It's true, isn't it, Miss Chiao? Hearing Zhou Yuanma's voice for the first time in a while left my mind blank for a moment. This voice was about 80 to 90% similar to the past, yet I could discern a slight difference. Zhou Yuanma, he wasn't the one who was reborn, but then again, he wasn't the one who died. Miss Chiao, Qi Yining called me once more, and I then pretended to snap back to reality. The other end of the phone was still quiet, seemingly waiting for my response. With a slight smile, I said nonchalantly, it's true. I wish you both the best in advance. In this life, I will let you have your way. Let's see how far you can go, but my heart will always belong to me alone, even if it once beat for Zhou Yuanma. That was only during those fleeting moments of warmth. It doesn't belong to the Zhou Yuanma of now, nor to the Zhou Yuanma of later. Qi Yining nodded at me, having achieved her goal. Then, while excitedly talking on the phone, she walked away. After she left, I sat in the cafe for a long time. Only when the water in my cup had completely cooled did I seem to sort out my past and present lives. When I stood up, my legs were somewhat numb, but just then, Zhou Yuanma's call came through. I stared blankly at the flashing number on the screen, took a deep breath, and answered. The next second, the man's clear voice came through. Zhou Yuanma asked me, did you really agree with Yining to not enter into a marriage alliance? I paused, a cold laugh rising in my heart. What do you mean by that? Was he worried that I would go back on my word, and was confirming it again? Zhou Yuanma was silent for a moment, then softened his tone. I didn't mean anything else, just that you were right before. The alliance is good for both families. Oh, I interrupted him, but it's not good for your childhood sweetheart. Are you willing to let her suffer? Zhou Yuanma fell silent again. It had to be said. Qi Yining holds a very high place in his heart. However, the memory of those greasy, disgusting eyes in the hotel room and the feeling of desperation when being coerced brings a surge of hatred within me. I clenched my fists tightly, struggling to control my emotions, and kept my voice steady. I will leave it to you to clearly explain to the family elders about rejecting the arranged marriage. This time, I will also make my stance clear to them. Hearing this, Zhou Yuanma seemed to be provoked. He said coldly, fine. Then at next week's banquet, Yining will be my date. With that, the call was abruptly disconnected. He hung up the phone. Such an impulse of him could never be the deeply contemplative Zhou Yuanma that he would later become. If only I didn't know how much he would come to hate me later on. At this moment, I almost thought he was just angry with me, but then again, our relationship during this period was actually quite harmonious. After all, it had been half a year since he returned to the Zhou family. Over these months, the elders had overtly and covertly found reasons for us to interact, and I had come to understand him somewhat. Occasionally, his insights at work impressed me. Zhou Yuanma is intelligent and learns quickly. Despite growing up in an orphanage, he excelled academically and was highly capable. This is also why I was willing to enter into an arranged marriage with him, before the start of the banquet. By coincidence, I ran into them at the entrance. Qi Yining, who had dressed up meticulously, looked even more charming. She greeted me from a distance while holding on to Zhou Yuanma's arm. Sister Chiao, her girlish voice attracted many glances. Zhou Yuanma's grip tightened when he saw me, but he firmly allowed Qi Yining to cling to him. His expression was a bit stiff, but before he could speak, I lightly breezed past them, leaving a remark. Miss Qi, I'm not very good at taking care of people. Perhaps you should call me Manager Xiao Qiao. Laughter echoed softly behind me, but before I had taken 2 steps, Zhou Yuanma grabbed my wrist. He frowned at me. Why are you acting so strange? Yining was just greeting you. This sudden defense startled me for a moment, and the warmth on my wrist snapped me back to reality. His grip was tight, and I couldn't break free for a moment. Zhou Yuanma, I cooled my expression, and just in time, Qi Yining gently persuaded from the side. Amo. Please let go of Miss Chiao. He seemed to take her words as gospel, so I stepped back to increase the distance between us. I was just speaking plainly, which word was strange. Also, we haven't known each other long, so don't act like you know me well. At this, Zhou Yuanma's face darkened completely, his lips pressed tightly together, and there seemed to be a hint of hurt in his eyes. I must be seeing things. What does he have to be hurt about? Not wanting to stay and become a topic of conversation, I headed into the hall first. As expected, the Zhou family's expression turned grim the moment they saw Qi Yining. I walked up to my father, who seemed ready to jump to his daughter's defense. "Dad, why worry about someone else's son?" After regaining his composure, he glared with wide eyes, fuming and grumbling, "That Zhou kid is slapping our faces. He's gotten too bold." Previously, it was only my mother who could make my father this angry. Since she passed away, it was rare for him to be so emotionally volatile. Thinking back to his son-in-law who disappointed him greatly in his previous life, I couldn't even dare to imagine how my father would react. "Don't worry, Dad, I'll make you proud," I gently reassured him, insisting that he shouldn't confront the Zhou family at this time. That would only provoke Zhou Yuanma's displeasure. He is the long-lost biological son the Zhou parents had been searching for years. And now he is the apple of their eye. Of course, the Zhou family wouldn't bear to blame their own child. They would only think that all this trouble was stirred up by Qi Yining. Someone curiously asked, "Who is Qi Yining, Mr.?" Zhou laughed heartily. "She's a childhood friend of my son, who came over to hang out tonight." With that said, Mr. Zhou promptly took Zhou Yuanma to offer toasts, as if afraid of being questioned further. Meanwhile, Qi Yining was left by Mrs. Zhou's side. In front of her son, Mrs. Zhou couldn't say much, but as soon as Zhou Yuanma turned his back, Mrs. Zhou grasped my hand without sparing Qi Yining a glance. It was a scene similar to one from my past life, only now, Qi Yining was also here behind me, greeting a few ladies jovially. Their ambiguous glances fell on me, teasing Mrs. Zhou. "It looks like not only did you find your son, but you might soon have a new daughter-in-law as well." Hearing this, Mrs. Zhou's eyes and eyebrows lit up with a smile. I calmly withdrew my hand, letting the elders chat amongst themselves. I had decided to let Zhou Yuanma be the center of attention. I was in no rush, but some people just couldn't wait. "Auntie, Yuanma said he won't marry Miss Qiao, so how could I underestimate Qi Yining?" She not only withstood countless ambiguous glances but also dared to disturb the ladies' enjoyment publicly. Mrs. Zhou's face stiffened, wanting to ignore her, but Qi Yining spoke up again. "Miss Qiao also promised that she wouldn't marry Yuanma, right, Miss Qiao?" The same tactic, if used repeatedly, might not work as well. I bit my lip, showing a bitter smile, instantly gaining several sympathetic glances. Mrs. Zhou patted my hand reassuringly, her voice commanding respect. "Promised who? Did you promise her?" Qi Yining's face turned deathly pale, as the surrounding ladies saw this. The topic shifted towards Qi Yining. Quickly, they pieced together the gossip. Some who loved stirring things up even advised Mrs. Zhou directly, "I think this girl looks quite nice, and since she and Yuanma grew up together and know each other well, it's not inappropriate." Yes, young people value feelings nowadays, and a forced marriage isn't sweet. We elders shouldn't interfere too much. Luckily, I harbored no feelings for Zhou Yuanma, otherwise, I'd be collateral damage. Mrs. Zhou's smile was particularly strained, yet she still had to maintain decorum. Nodding along occasionally, "What are you all talking about so lively, Mr. Zhou?" arrived with Zhou Yuanma after making a round of toasts. Seeing Zhou Yuanma, Qi Yining clung to him as if he were her pillar of strength. The onlookers noticed this and, it was all in jest. Really, according to the original plan, after today's banquet, Zhou Yuanma and I were supposed to get engaged and then married. That's the conventional sequence in our circle, but tonight, Qi Yining's presence added a fresh twist to what would have been just another ordinary gathering. Hearing everyone praise Zhou Yuanma and Qi Yining as childhood sweethearts and a perfect match, Zhou's father's face darkened. Of course, my father wasn't looking too pleased either. Finally, as the banquet came to an end and the guests dispersed, my father could no longer hold back and confronted Zhou Yuanma. "Do you really not want to get engaged to Yang Yang?" Zhou Yuanma was unusually silent. I thought he would readily admit it. Where was the man who had been dead set against this arranged marriage? What happened? Did he taste the sweetness of collaborating with the Qiao family? He looked at me, but I indifferently turned my face away. It was then that Zhou Yuanma slowly began, "Uncle Qiao, I just need a bit more time." Oh, he knew not to make a definitive statement, to leave some room for maneuver. But what am I, a pawn in his game? That wouldn't be easy. No matter how much time you need, Miss Qi will always be waiting for you, I said calmly. The implication was clear. If you keep hesitating, you're just being awful. This also let my father see clearly how others were weighing his precious daughter. Sure enough, my father simply waved his hand dismissively. Upon seeing this, Zhou's mother immediately tried to reassure me. Yang, don't worry, Yuanma just hasn't made up his mind yet, give him a few more days." As she spoke, she observed Zhou Yuanma's expression. Upon hearing this, Qi Yinin's eyes immediately reddened. Auntie, Mo promised he would marry me. The atmosphere in the study froze instantly. Zhou Yuanma's lips moved slightly, but he said nothing, which was as good as an admission. I raised my eyebrows in surprise. I hadn't expected Qi Yinin to be so bold as to confront Zhou's mother directly. Did she still want to marry into the Zhou family? However, in a past life, Zhou's mother would pass away from illness in about a year and a half, so if Qi Yinin could wait, she had a good chance of entering the Zhou family. But at that moment, Zhou's mother's face turned red, and she lost her composure. She pointed at Qi Yinin and scolded sternly, "This is not your place to speak." Qi Yinin immediately started crying out of hurt, burying her face in Zhou Yuanma's chest. My father's gaze swept over the two of them huddled together, and he frowned deeply. Since that's the case, the marriage between our two families. Just then, Zhou He arrived. The man entered wearing a racing suit, tall and with a striking face. His gaze swept around the room before finally settling on me. Yang, I'm here, he said. My father shut his mouth, surprised, and looked at me. I winked at him. But my father's frown seemed to tighten even more. Upon learning that Zhou He and I were together, everyone was stunned. Impossible. Zhou Yuanma suddenly spoke up, snapping everyone back to reality. You and Yang, what's going on? When did this happen between you two? Faced with their confusion, I shyly lowered my head. It just happened, he added. Dad, Uncle Qiao, I've actually liked Yang for a long time. She said that if I could make it tonight, she would agree. These few sentences left everyone present with their own thoughts, but actually, the message I sent to Zhou He was, play along with me, and I'll take care of your fleet. Money, after all, needs to be spent wisely. Zhou He and I exchanged a knowing smile, which to onlookers, made it seem like our relationship was very strong. Zhou's mother was not pleased. What about Yuan Mo? Upon hearing this, my father scoffed derisively. Isn't he already betrothed to that girl? My Yang won't interfere. However, Zhou's father was pleased with the situation. He cheerfully said to my dad, it looks like this marriage alliance is inevitable. My dad just grimaced and said nothing. Only Zhou's mother turned pale. She glared fiercely at Qi Yinin and complained of feeling unwell, asking Zhou Yuan Mo to take her home. She called out several times, and Zhou Yuan Mo seemed distracted and out of it. Zhou's mother, frustrated, left first. Hey how's your mom? She's good. Only 190 cities left to reach 199. Judging by Qi Yinin's confused look, she had no idea who Zhou He was. Being the son of Zhou's father's first wife, he was 2 years older than Zhou Yuan Mo. Perhaps because he wasn't involved in business, he had an air of vitality and freedom about him, appearing younger than Zhou Yuan Mo. My dad and Zhou's father had more to discuss, and Zhou He, not wanting to stay and catch up with his father, offered to take me home. However, just as we were leaving, Zhou Yuan Mo hurried after us. Mo, don't walk so fast, wait for me. If it weren't for Qi Yinin's loud voice, I wouldn't have known Zhou Yuan Mo was already standing behind me. He was slightly out of breath, his dark eyes fixed on me. Xu Yang, you said that out of anger, didn't you? I tilted my head in confusion, just in time to catch the venomous look Qi Yinin shot me, but it was just a blink, and I thought I must have seen it wrong. After all, I had already helped her. I couldn't possibly marry Zhou Yuan Mo now. She should be grateful to me. No, unless I want to. No one can influence me. Zhou Yuan Mo still didn't believe it, but we had agreed earlier at the company. Zhou Yuan Mo. I furrowed my brows and interrupted him. One cannot have it both ways. Since I've already agreed with Miss Qi, I'll stick to my word. Zhou Yuan Mo looked embarrassed. He opened his mouth as if to argue. I scoffed, unwilling to entertain him further, and continued walking with Zhou He. The autumn night was cool with a hint of chill in the breeze. After walking a distance, Zhou He started gossiping. It seems like my brother has some feelings for you. Zhou He interested in me. That thought made me shudder. Don't talk nonsense. He's just worried about his status as an heir being unstable. Oh, are you that influential just by being with you? I glanced at him sideways, a smile tugging at the corner of my mouth. Not now. But after getting married, Zhou He's voice broke in surprise. Do you have some special circumstance that prevents you from marrying me? No, there's nothing like that. Fortunately, it all worked out. I reassuringly patted his arm. Just cooperate with me, and you can set up as many racing teams as you like. Zhou He, after my father returned, he curiously asked me, it's not like you have to marry into the Zhou family. What do you see in that boy? I calmly answered. His face, but in reality, Zhou He is my only option. because I can't let Zhou Yuanma have everything. The Zhou family shouldn't belong to him. I want to see if Qi Yining will continue to love him unconditionally when he is no longer the heir to the Zhou family. In my previous life, Qi Yining and I were bidding on the same piece of jewelry at an auction. She eventually won it, her face full of triumph. She said that without Zhou Yuanma, her life might not necessarily be worse than mine. But in this life, if Zhou Yuanma falls into hard times, can she still live better than me? I don't understand why she has to compete with me. The news of me and Zhou he gradually spread in our circle. In my previous life, until the very end, he and I had no interactions. We only met twice at a few family dinners that could be counted on one hand. So, about Zhou everyone was quite unfamiliar. This time, because of me, everyone came to know that there was more than one young master in the Zhou family. I got Zhou a job at Qiao Corporation and had him work on projects. With my deliberate promotion, his reputation quickly grew. Thanks to his involvement, several major projects had a 100% signing rate. He even took one deal right out of Zhou Yuanma's hands. Of course, these projects originally belonged to Qiao Corporation in my previous life. When my father talked with Mr. Zhou, he couldn't help but praise Zhou. This kid is smart, impressive, and capable of great things. He has really made me proud this time. Mr. Zhou's expression at that moment wasn't bad, but it definitely wasn't good either. He might have thought that his eldest son hadn't made him proud yet. During this time, I ignored Zhou Yuanma's messages and calls. Even if he wanted to consult me about work, I couldn't be bothered. I truly became a stranger to him. In my previous life, he succeeded largely because of my initial help. This time, he clearly lacked the ability and kept making mistakes. It wasn't long before Mr. Zhou personally sought out Zhou to discuss him joining the Zhou Corporation. Should I go? Zhou asked me, not rejecting the offer outright but choosing to consult me. I was very satisfied with his attitude. Of course you should go. Do you really plan on being a stay-at-home son-in-law? Zhou was stunned, his brows furrowed with confusion. But what do I need the Zhou Corporation for? Such a naive question. I replied dryly, to make money. Zhou I might not make money if the company is in my hands. I couldn't help but laugh. Don't worry, I'll help you make money. Just think, once you take over Zhou Corporation and I help you make money, you can fund countless racing teams. It's not a bad deal at all. Zhou hesitated but nodded, still puzzled. Why would you want to help me? I smiled at him and said generously, what does it matter? After all, it's going to be for my child. Zhou broke into a startled, high-pitched tone once again. It seemed like he never truly understood why I wanted to marry him, but I thought he was an excellent candidate for marriage. If we raised a child together, with proper guidance, they would turn out exceptional. But Zhou argued that only people who love each other should marry. I wanted to counter that, asking how much his parents loved each other at the beginning and for how long. But then I thought better of it and simply said, many people who love each other still don't end up marrying. Can't you just think of it as me loving you? Zhou looked at me with a complex expression, then suddenly turned and walked away. His departing figure seemed shrouded in resentment. It suddenly hit me. Does he love me? On the day the team won the award, Zhou joined the Zhou Corporation. After that, I became even busier because I had to guide him remotely from time to time. Initially worried he might not be up to the task, I was surprised to find he was even more capable and suited for leadership than I had anticipated. Even my father mentioned how Zhou's father had openly praised him at the board meeting. Without any reservations, when it came to Zhou Yuanma, his tone was much colder. Apparently, he was distracted at work, performed mediocrely, and often targeted Zhou. However, I never heard any of this negativity from Zhou himself, but I knew that Qi Yining still hadn't managed to take down Zhou Yuanma, with the biggest obstacle being Zhou's mother. I anonymously contacted a journalist to give Qi Yining a tip, and she fell for it quickly. The day she was supposed to review plans with Mr. Yamamoto, Zhou Yuanma was absent. He was currently scrambling out of a hotel with Qi Yining. Avoiding the media's cameras and interviews, the headlines were sensational. Zhou's second son and girlfriend soon to wed. Zhou's son and girlfriend spend 20 wild hours in a hotel. As their photos were exposed, the Zhou family lost their chance to break into the island nation's market. Furious, Zhou's father fired Zhou Yuanma on the spot and declared that if he dared to marry Qi Yining, they could both leave. Zhou's mother tried to persuade Zhou Yuanma but ended up being pushed to the ground by him. Falling ill from the distress, the rift between mother and son deepened, and Zhou Yuanma left the Zhou family without looking back. He said that this place was never truly his, nor could it accommodate him. Perhaps Zhou Yuanma could accept starting from scratch, but Qi Yining might not. Her decision to expose the scandal and stir things up was a desperate attempt to be acknowledged by the Zhou family. Little did she know, she was ending her own dream, but after the fact, Qi Yining must have realized this was no coincidence. From the moment Zhou He stepped into the Zhou Corporation, the rumors of a power struggle between the Zhou sons never ceased. Now, it was clear that Zhou He had won. When Zhou He took me to experience the romantic and free-spirited music festival, I didn't expect to run into a drunken Zhou Yuanma on the streets. Seeing us holding hands, his eyes filled with hatred. Why are you helping him, not me? Why couldn't you just wait a bit longer? Wait for me, Yang. I regret it. Actually Qi Yining suddenly appeared out of nowhere, crazily lunging at Zhou Yuanma and covering his mouth. Don't say it, don't you dare. I won't allow you to say it. You told me you only liked me. You said you'd marry me when we grew up. How could you change like this? As I watched you shoving and pushing, the two of us tangled together, I furrowed my brow, unintentionally. A pair of warm hands covered my eyes. Come, turn around, I'll take you away. Instinctively, I smiled and handed myself over to the person beside me. Without looking back, I failed to notice those sinister eyes, nor could I have imagined that I would be kidnapped in the basement of my own company. I woke up to pitch darkness, a foul stench hanging in the air, as if I were in a garbage dump. A faint glimmer of light from an unknown source revealed the silhouette of Qi Yining. You're awake. As she spoke, the darkness suddenly lifted. It was indeed Qi Yining. She held a candle in her hand, her expression grim, her eyes shining with a dangerous light. I was tied to a chair, unable to move, but facing her alone didn't frighten me much. What are you doing? Qi Yining, looking eerily at the candlelight, murmured, I want revenge. Revenge. I almost laughed out loud. Zhou Yuanma was supposed to avenge her, and now she wanted revenge too. Was it for Zhou Yuanma's sake? What grudge do I have with you? From the beginning, I never opposed you. Instead, I facilitated your relationship. At that moment, I received a slap. Suddenly, I felt a murderous rage. Qi Yining, have you lost your mind? Yes, I've gone mad. Xia Shuyang, you drove me to this. Stop pretending. Even if you did facilitate things between Yuanma and me, I've had no good days. Why should I suffer? I grew up with him, and he only met you recently and was charmed by you. But don't think that marrying him solves everything. Did Yuanma touch you after that? Let me guess, he didn't, right? No matter that you married him, I will always be the one he truly loves in his heart, and he must hate you now. Otherwise, why would I run into you here again? It was shocking, yet not entirely unexpected. I puffed my cheeks, still feeling the pain. I never thought you'd come back to life only to mess up like this. God really wasted his chance on you. Zhou Yuanma is foolish, and you're no better. In my bones, I could never bow to fools. I never begged Zhou Yuanma for mercy in my past life, and I wouldn't show weakness now. Just as I braced for another slap, Qi Yining, overcome with emotion, retorted, You're wrong. He's even more foolish than I am. Let me guess. How did you die? Were you tortured to death by those people too? Ah, Amo is so gullible. I simply told him that you never let me go, that the pervert Li Xianan was introduced by you, and he believed it. He's so naive, waking from drunkenness to misunderstandings about our relationship, and I was promised that everything would be fine. I even lied to him that I was pregnant with his child, when in fact, I don't even know whose child it is. Haha. I listened silently, forced to admit that in my past life, I had been far too careless. To think that Zhou Yuanma had done so much right under my nose. Qi Yining continued, given another chance, I thought I could seize the opportunity, but unexpectedly, you came back too. You are indeed impressive, smart, and capable. I know nothing about business and couldn't help Yuanma. He doesn't love me anymore. I have nothing left. Xiao Shuyang. Are you satisfied now? Satisfied with what? Without Zhou Yuanma, you can't live. You must have him. I don't think that's necessarily the case. Qi Yining suddenly turned her head and glared at me. But I can't swallow this insult. She stepped toward me, illuminating my face with candlelight. Last time you tasted what it was like to be tormented. This time, how about I ruin your face? I recoiled. Calm down for a moment. It's just a burn. It won't hurt much. And no one is going to come to save you here anyway. Seeing the certainty in her eyes, panic started to set in. I didn't even know where I was. Cars honked as they passed by outside, and I wanted to scream for help, but found myself too nervous to make a sound. They are just racing outside. Nobody comes to this dump. Qi Yining approached again, and I blew out the candle in one breath. She cursed in frustration and then lit several candles around. If you don't cooperate, I will burn you alive. Me, how am I supposed to cooperate? As I panicked, trying to think of a way out, a slight breeze brought the smell of something burning. It was really on fire. The visibility in the room suddenly increased, but that was not a good sign. Chi-Nin, let go of me. It's going to start a real fire soon. She didn't even turn her head. You wish. Just wait. I'll be back to deal with you. But all I heard was the sound of her knocking over bottles. A sudden whiff of alcohol stood out amidst the foul smell. The fire caught instantly, my heart sank, and Chi-Nin, the fool, didn't even look as she tried to douse the flames with the remaining alcohol in the bottle. With a scream of agony, she clutched her face and crouched down. Just when I was about to despair, the sound of cars outside seemed to be right next to us. Through the roaring flames, I saw Zhou He. It wasn't a dream, it really was Zhou He, Xu Yang, and Zhou Yuanma. They almost ran towards me simultaneously. But as soon as Chi-Nin saw Zhou Yuanma, she immediately clung to his legs. Yuanma, is that you? It hurts, help me. Then, I heard Zhou Yuanma, with a voice full of sorrow, questioning Chi-Nin. Chi-Nin, you lied to me. That child, it wasn't mine at all. In Zhou He's arms, my eyes widened in shock. He came back too. Zhou He was either tired or hot, his face covered in sweat. He carried me through the low window. It was the first time I realized how strong his arms were. Behind us, Almo. What are you doing? It's me, Chi-Nin, let go. I can hardly breathe. If I had known you would deceive me, you should have died long ago. I'll kill you to apologize to Yang Yang. Ha ha ha, she won't forgive you. I never thought that the lies of my past life would be exposed in this one. But how did Zhou Yuanma find out? Did he conduct an investigation later? The faces that had appeared in the hotel room suddenly flashed before my eyes, and I thought of what Chi-Nin had just said. Could those people be the ones who killed Chi-Nin? The more I thought about it, the more it seemed to be the truth. Don't worry, I'll make sure they receive the punishment they deserve. Zhou He ignored the outside noises, his statement firm and decisive. I snapped back to reality and buried my face in his neck, nodding slightly. How did you find this place? Zhou He paused, then pulled out a bracelet from his pocket. I then realized my wrist was bare. Somebody from the convoy went to this area and found it on the ground while resting. I had posted it on my social circle, and they all liked it. Recognizing the bracelet, Zhou He held me tight, his chest muscles tense as iron. He was scared that something had happened to me. I tried to change the subject. Do I smell? A little. Me. The kidnapping incident was handled discreetly by Zhou He, making sure no news leaked out. However, Chi-Nin's face was mostly ruined by her own foolishness. Her leg was also burned, and she blamed Zhou Yuanma for not taking her out in time. She clung to this point. In the end, both were found guilty of intentional homicide, awaiting their final judgment. But I'm not sure if Zhou He had a hand in this. After that day, I stopped caring about the matter. After I first distinctly refused to see Zhou Yuanma, I never heard that name again. Zhou He worked harder and harder, gaining the favor of Father Zhou. The father and son duo even appeared together in a magazine interview, their movements and gestures strikingly similar. The host asked Zhou He, Mr. Zhou was a race car driver. What made you decide to return to the family business? Zhou He smiled slightly at the camera, his tone light but his gaze incredibly firm. He said, because I have someone I want to protect. With that statement, the media went wild. Everyone said that Zhou He gave up his racing dream for me. Even Father Zhou continuously boasted that I was the lucky star of the Zhou family. Otherwise he wouldn't have discovered such an excellent successor. Most of the time, I just smiled without saying anything. In my heart, I disagreed. For me, he initially did it for the money. Our wedding was set in romantic April. On the wedding day, my mother-in-law, whom I had only seen on a phone screen, exceptionally paused her city sightseeing plans. Together with Father Zhou, they attended our toast ceremony. She later told me, I always felt that Ahe was like me, impatient with his father's circuitous business ways, but now, he's becoming more and more like his father. I thought she was expressing regret, melancholy, but she changed her tone, continuing to marvel. Isn't it amazing? Could this be the power of love? My face warmed, and as I turned, I met a pair of focused and burning dark eyes. The power of love, yeah, I guess it must be.